What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
13 FC. Chapter 321 Initiating a Challenge. Advertisement. What are these guys talking about? It's so hilarious. Hongfa felt a little out of breath whenever she heard the voices of those guys, as if they were the loudest voices in the entire space. Those who didn't know the situation thought it was a quarrel. I don't know, maybe they are trying to find a way to bring us down. Whitebeard said every word. Those guys obviously came for their pirate world this time, and they all chose them as rain pairs in the battle space. Such a situation is estimated to be rarely seen in the future. While they were discussing, Xia Xing was leaning against the wall beside him, as if he was thinking about something. When they saw this, they didn't bother anymore. Now they have made the necessary preparations. Xia Xing has also told them that this time the opponent must not be underestimated. Otherwise, their failure in the first round was just the beginning. Then you have to be mentally prepared. Should they be spared? And just after they became completely quiet, Xia Xing's words suddenly interrupted the silence. Leave them alive. Whitebeard and the others were all taken aback by Xia Xing's sudden interjection. They didn't even know what 28 meant. That's right, you don't need to make another move this time. It took a long time for them to realize that what Xia Xing was talking about was those guys from Soul Suppression World. Although they didn't know what Xia Xing would think, what they could know now was that Xia Xing was about to make a move. There is no such a big threat yet, right? After figuring out what Chu Xia meant, Whitebeard also expressed his own thoughts. Although those guys came up aggressively and won a few rounds, but they haven't posed any serious threat to them yet. If Xia Xing got involved at this time, it would be an absurd thing in the first place. Isn't that considered a threat? After hearing Whitebeard's explanation, Xia Xing stared at him with wide eyes and said. But also, besides him, Whitebeard, it was others who got the result. When those guys grow up, we will have no chance at all. Xia Xing also said helplessly. Of course he wanted to make everything easier, but it was no longer the day he dreamed of. Advertisement. The fact now is that he has to settle this matter himself, otherwise, it would be futile to say more. In this case, will people from other worlds? At this moment, Sengoku suddenly reminded. After all, his current strength has been made public. If he is motivated to kill because of this matter, other people's opinions will probably be ugly. But Xia Xing never seemed to care about these. What's the matter? Just let them talk about it. This is the best way to save your lives now. After saying this, Zhengxing slowly stood up. It seems that he didn't plan to discuss with them, but just told them. Pirate World Xia Xing initiates a challenge. Close black lens bracket. The moment these words came out from the battle space of Jinbang, the whole world boiled up. Is it finally time to make another move? I don't know which unlucky guy got into trouble again. But wasn't Xia Shen banned from the gold list just now? Can you still challenge me now? The suspension game has passed. Okay, have we forgotten our 3-game losing streak just now? Now everyone is curious about one thing, who is Xia Xing's challenger this time? When Xia Xing walked out of the space of the pirate world, the god tiers in other worlds also sighed. It seems that Jinbang will not let this space settle down. Constant battles, plus a constant influx of new characters. What they were more worried about now was that if Xia Xing set his sights on them, he would probably be able to click to end the game immediately. There is no suspense. But among the many people, only Xu Cheng knew exactly what Xia Xing's goal was this time. From the look in his eyes just now, he could feel that their actions had attracted Zhengxing's attention. But if you think about it now, even if you keep a low profile next, they have already been discovered by Xia Xing. All members of the soul suppressing world. Close black lens bracket. At this moment, the gold list was finally announced. Xu Cheng hadn't thought of this point. He originally thought that Xia Xing would defeat them one by one based on this time difference. However, what he didn't expect was that Xia Xing boasted directly and included all their members in his opponent array. What's the matter with this guy? Are you dying? When Shang Kunlun heard that Xia Xing wanted to challenge their entire team, he was also ridiculed. Advertisement. In his opinion, this matter is no different from death. It's really crazy. I finally saw someone braver than Xiao Cao. Hearing what they said, the pressure was all on Xu Cheng. He now clearly knows what Xia Xing wants to do. If he succeeds, they probably won't have a chance to breathe. When he saw this, Xu Cheng also nodded silently. This time you have to be mentally prepared. Xu Cheng said with a wry smile, it seems that Xia Xing came this time according to the plan to wipe them all out. Looking at their disdainful eyes, Xu Cheng was really worried. If they are still in this state when fighting, then the chance of winning is probably not great. The most important thing now is that none of them has seen Xia Xing's strength. Don't know what to do at all. Forget it. Since everyone has already greeted them, then we can only go. At this moment, Cao Yanbing picked up the Yama of the 10 palaces in his hands, and walked forward with a smile. At this moment, Xia Xing was actually warming up. Looking at his relaxed appearance, he was no different from them, and they all regarded this battle as a sure thing of victory. Hurry up. Don't waste time. Cao Yanbing looked at Shang Kunlun and the others, and said immediately. But after playing, what Xu Cheng said just now was instantly killed. The moment these guys entered the combat space, they were instantly full of murderous intent. Okay, let's end the battle as soon as possible. Wang Fu Longdu also said flatly. It seems that the lesson given by Whitebeard just now is still not enough, so we can only rely on Xia Xing's iron fist of justice. This is much more exaggerated than Garp. Watching them slowly enter the arena, Xia Xing was also ready. But Whitebeard and the others were still a little worried. Just now I was worried about the fishing boat, but now I am worried about the safety of Zhengxing. After all, there were dozens of people, big and small, on the opposite side, and there were many people whose level they didn't know. Advertisement. Chapter 322 Pain. Advertisement. Are you ready, scumbags? After Xia Xing went up, the first sentence instantly filled up their anger. Whitebeard looked on, now with black lines all over his face. This kid, what is he doing? Now I really don't understand Xia Xing's thoughts. If you fight, you just fight. You have drawn so many people to be your opponents. Why don't you just keep a low profile? Now you come up and just irritate them all. Looking at this lineup, the red hair looked like he was watching a show at this time. Let's see what happens next. For her, Whitebeard and the others were too nervous. After all, they knew Xia Xing's strength. Even if all these guys rushed up, it wouldn't be of much use. Seeing that everyone else was sitting and waiting, Shang Kunlun seemed to be planning to ask Suangsing to take the lead. But this state is not what he wants. The moment he clenched his fist, Shang Yu's huge body instantly appeared in front of him. Holding a big knife in his hand, he slashed directly at Xia Xing. There was a violent trembling sound from around, and Xia Xing lowered his gaze calmly. There was still a crack on the ground under his feet. Although there was still a gap compared to Whitebeard, it was still threatening. But it wasn't over yet. Just when Xia Xing was about to escape, Cao Yanbing also started to prepare. Shu Chu's hammer almost hit him. Seeing that guy's ferocious face, Xia Xing just sneered. It seems that only this face is aggressive in the whole body, and there is no threat other than that. After the battle started, Xia Xing was always in a state of coping, which just made their attack ineffective. When seeing this, Whitebeard was also sweating. It seemed that Xia Xing hadn't taken it seriously yet, he was just playing with them. The only one who got nervous was probably Xu Chang. He looked up at the gold list, just thought he had some understanding of it, but now he was completely beaten back to his original form. Advertisement. It would be fine if Xia Xing was suspended, but now he can challenge. And in the current state, the people in Soul Suppression World are equivalent to all invested in it. If they fail, it's good that they don't lose their lives, otherwise they will have nothing. This is what Xu Cheng is worried about now. After several rounds of offensives, they also saw Xia Xing's strength. There was no pressure at all to resolve their offensive, and up to now, he has not seen him make a move. For Wangfu Longdu, this was even more unacceptable than losing to Whitebeard just now. It's like an old man playing chess facing a kid, giving him 10 pieces. Several doors are out of the way. Faced with Xia Xing's invisible sarcasm again and again, Wangfu Longdu finally couldn't bear it, and directly rushed forward with a roar. Everyone present felt Wangfu Longdu's charismatic aura, and the moment he stepped forward, his whole body became extremely powerful. The reiatsu exuded by Xing Tian also tightly wrapped his body. After seeing his aggressive appearance, Xia Xing shook his head helplessly. I really don't know what to do in such a hurry, the battle has already started anyway, as long as one side is still standing, the battle will not end. Wangfu Longdu's idea of wanting a quick battle is really naive enough. But Xia Xing had to accept it. After all, those guys were still a little threatening now, and if they fell into his hands, it would be worthless. A flash of spiritual light appeared directly in front of Xia Xing's eyes. Xing Tian didn't know when he came around behind him, but Xia Xing had already noticed it. Xia Xing grasped the movements of everyone on the opposite side. A little trouble can reach his ears. Xia Xing slightly turned his body to the side, trying to deviate from Xing Tian's falling trajectory as much as possible. A heavy punch fell directly, and a huge dent appeared on the ground under Xia Xing's feet. Recovery is really fast. Xia Xing saw Xing Tian's current state, and it seemed that the scars from the battle with Whitebeard just now had fully recovered. However, Xing Tian's combat effectiveness was nothing to worry about for Xia Xing. The punch just now, even if it was pushed directly down Chongli, there would not be any pressure. Advertisement. But Wangfu Longdu was not idle during this time. After letting other people step aside, his current state felt like he wanted to swallow Xia Xing alive. The speed was as fast as the wind, and after feeling the murderous aura, Xia Xing's eyes gradually turned to him. At that moment, the whole space seemed to stop at this moment. The wind did not continue to turn. Looking at Xia Xing through the dazzling light, the released haki has gradually appeared in everyone's sight. Wangfu Longdu didn't care about these, but at the moment when his fist was about to fall, just Xia Xing's eyes brought a great poisonous force to his heart. There is no way for the body to make any movements. The fist was suspended in midair like this. Looking at Xia Xing's eyes, Wangfu Longdu's heart is probably full of panic now. But at this moment, Xia Xing slowly approached him and grabbed his fist directly. After other people saw it, they also felt bad. Have no idea what's going on. Originally, Wangfu Longdu was still staying there, unable to move. Seeing that Wangfu Longdu was in danger, Cao Yanbing raised the 10-temple Yama and rushed forward without saying a word. Anyway, this is his uncle. But when he got close, the haki emanating from Xia Xing's body could already be clearly felt. It's like walking into a strong magnetic field. Just standing here, De Nuohao can feel the pressure on the body. There was no other way. Cao Yanbing could only withdraw his feet, and let the guardian spirit create a little momentum first. At least make Wangfu Longdu safer. And that guy didn't give up, he kept struggling. Wanting to get out of the current predicament, Xia Xing's gaze has become firm at this moment. Just when he was about to kill the killer, he suddenly heard a burst of strong footsteps behind him. Now that Xing Tian has fallen to the ground, it is estimated that he will not be able to recover for a while. I don't know who is going to make a move at this time. No matter how great the curiosity is now, there is no way, and there is no way to struggle out of such a predicament. And looking at Xia Xing's expression, it seemed that he didn't take them seriously at all. At this time, he really understood the reminder that Boss Shu gave them just now. It does not appear to be groundless. Advertisement. Chapter 323 Deterrence. Advertisement. Another one sent to die. Xia Xing saw that Shu Chu and the others had appeared in the range of his haki, and gave a wry smile. Just wiggling his fingers a little, Shu Chu suddenly felt that his body was a little out of control, and he picked up the hammer and fell towards Zhang Liao. Fortunately, they dodged quickly, and a huge dent was directly knocked into the ground. This scene was watched by Cao Yanbing. Hey, what are you doing? After seeing Shu Chu's attack on him, Zhang Liao also started to shout. It's just messing around. But after hearing his roar, Shu Chu also looked helpless. What's going on? My body seemed out of control just now. When he said these words, Shu Jie's actions also became more intense. He swung the hammer in his hand and smashed it directly at Zhang Liao again. There is no way, if you don't fight back at this time, you may be injured by Shu Chu. The moment Shu Chu rushed over, Zhang Liao clenched his fist tightly, ready to find a good gap to knock him down directly. But who knew that just when he was ready for everything, Shu Chu suddenly changed his direction when he appeared in front of 940. One sideways moved away, and Zhang looked silly. Before he could start cursing, Shu Chu hit Zhang Liao's body with a hammer. It was so solid that he could even hear the sound of bones breaking. At this time, they could also clearly feel that the haki released by Xia Xing seemed to be a little weaker than before. Although he didn't know what was going on, Zhang Liao only cared about one thing now. After the wounds on his body disappeared, Zhang Liao could still clearly feel the pain in his body, and then he struggled to raise his head to look at Shu Chu. You guy, did you do it on purpose? It's no wonder that he had clearly predicted Zhang Liao's movements, and now that he has been injured to such a degree, it is really unreasonable to say that he was controlled. After Shu Chu saw their eyes, he also looked helpless. No matter how much they doubt, they are being controlled. There is nothing to say. Advertisement. The important thing now is to hurry up and rescue Wangfu Longdu, right? And at this moment, Shu Chu remembered their purpose this time. But when they looked forward again, Wangfu Longdu seemed to have recovered. Just now Xia Xing withdrew haki for no reason, which made Wangfu Longdu a little puzzled. So after struggling out this time, he didn't rush to take revenge like before, but immediately distanced himself from Xia Xing, so as to avoid the situation just now happening again. Looking at other people, they are now in a wait-and-see state. It looked like he was going to watch a play next to him. These bastards. Wangfu Longdu could only get it secretly, but after thinking about it carefully, it seems that he just said not to let them move. This time it was a shame to throw it home. Make such a fool of yourself in front of them. But this person named Xia Xing was indeed beyond his expectation. Just judging from the appearance, he would never have thought that he would have such strength, but now Wangfu Longdu really felt the oppressive feeling that Xia Xing brought to him. He probably never wanted to experience this feeling, but as long as the battle continued, he couldn't help himself. Are you all right? And at this moment, Cao Yanbing did not know when he came to his side and asked. Wangfu Longdu could only persevere and shook his head. Don't worry, you won't die yet. Quote. Cao Yanbing also knew that Xia Xing's strength should not be underestimated when he said this sentence. And what happened to Shu Chu just now has already explained the problem. It seems that their current opponent can no longer be viewed with the eyes of ordinary people. And at this moment, in the enchantment of the soul-suppressing world, Shu Cheng broke into a cold sweat after seeing the scene before him. If Xia Xing had been a little more serious just now, it is estimated that Cao Yanbing and Wangfu Longdu would have directly killed him. I should have told them about the strategy before I knew the battle. In any case, safety must be ensured. Even if you lose the battle, at least you can come back with your life. If they were caught by Xia Xing, their whole world would probably be over. And even at this time, they are not completely out of danger, just like what I said before, as long as Xia Xing and them are still in the same space, they must always be prepared. Advertisement. A little carelessness will cost them their lives. Cao Yanbing, wait for you to outflank from the right, and be careful to keep a distance. But now they can't continue to waste time. After Cao Yanbing heard it, he just nodded. However, just as they were about to rush up, they suddenly heard shouts from behind. When he heard this, Cao Yanbing was also surprised, and then slowly turned around to look. Shang Kunlun finally made a move. According to the wait and see just now, the reason why the guy named Xia Xing wanted to challenge so many of them was not an exaggeration. He really has this strength. If you don't get serious at this time and fight with the attitude just now, it is estimated that within 10 rounds, you will be able to seal the battle. And these words are not exaggerated at all. Finally getting serious. After seeing the scene in front of him, a smile gradually appeared on the corner of Xia Xing's mouth. Shang Kunlun's 100,000 dead souls of the Chu army stood in front of him at this moment. Accompanied by bursts of roars, Xia Xing also felt the shock at this moment, the body of the golden and iron horse. However, it seems that Shang Kunlun intends to use these undead soldiers of the Chu army to cover their actions this time. After all, with so many targets, Xia Xing will always reveal his secrets, and they just want to seize this gap. Seeing that Shang Kunlun had shown his strength, the others did not dare to relax. Then he directly caught up, and now standing in Xia Xing's line of sight were innumerable guardian spirits. Looking at their ghost bodies, it seems that a tough battle is necessary this time. With the advancement of the Chu army's undead, Xia Xing had almost finished warming up. After twisting his hands and ankles, he looked forward firmly. One after another auras came rushing like this, just like the battle with Saul before. If you touch it, you will still feel it. But for Xia Xing, the only threat to this trick is his numbers. Even if 100,000 people stood in front of him, that kind of scene would have its own deterrent effect. Not to mention so many ghosts. The form presented in front of him was really weird. Advertisement. Chapter 324. The Gift of Meeting. Advertisement. Xia Xing had already prepared his posture. The moment they charged up, Xia Xing just raised his arms slightly. His whole body was exposed in front of those people in the soul-suppressing world, but for some reason, he didn't respond at all. It seems that he was completely ignored. In other words, he was already too frightened by Xia Xing's momentum. Looking at the fully armed undead, Xia Xing's haki has already hindered them. The moment they approached, strong coercion radiated from the 20-odd diameter at the foot of Yi Xing. Shang Kunlun also clearly noticed that those undead suddenly stopped in front of Xia Xing. What happened? When Shang Kunlun saw this scene, he couldn't believe his eyes. Xia Xing stood there, obviously not doing anything, but those undead actually stopped in their tracks. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Don't be distracted. But at this time, Wangfu Longdu and Cao Yanbing were not affected at all. From the very beginning, they followed their own plan. This guy really wants to have something like aura, so be careful not to get involved. After being in contact with Xia Xing before, Wangfu Longdu also had some understanding. The current situation is that they must be prepared for everything. Otherwise, it is very likely to have the same encounter as before. Wangfu Longdu probably didn't want to experience that feeling again in his life. Don't worry, you should worry about yourself. After Cao Yanbing heard Wangfu Longdu's reminder, he said with a sneer. Obviously he was the one who fell into Xia Xing's hands just now, so I really don't know what qualifications this guy has to remind him here. I'm doing this for your own good. After Wangfu Longdu saw Cao Yanbing's sulky attitude, he was about to say something to him, but was interrupted by that guy's booing. Watching Cao Yanbing time speed up, soon there was only one figure left in his sight. When he saw this, Wangfu Longdu could only feel a burst of pain. It seems that now he has no right to speak here. Even Cao Yanbing had this attitude towards him, let alone those other guys. Advertisement. But now it seems that it is not the time to care about these things, and it will soon be within Xia Xing's range. At this time, if he was distracted and caught a loophole, Cao Yanbing would probably feel contempt again. But at this moment, what he didn't know was that Xia Xing's eyes had already locked on him. For him, this should be a harbinger of doom. When he focused on Xia Xing, his whole body trembled. An invisible pressure surged directly into his heart. With just a simple look in his eyes, Wangfu Longdu already felt the incomparable coercion. If he gets any closer, he will even lose his ability to move. Orange. And when he opened his eyes again, Wangfu Longdu finally saw the color of haki on Xia Xing clearly. The orange-yellow gas lingered around Xia Xing in this way. It wasn't until this time that he realized that he had already stood within Xia Xing's range. It's just that I don't feel anything right now. Although I don't know why, but such a range is really scary. But before he came back to his senses, that boy Cao Yanbing had appeared behind Xia Xing. He really was a newborn calf not afraid of tigers. But as an uncle, he can't just watch this kid go to die recklessly. After Wangfu Longdu gave a wry smile, Xing Tian also immediately understood what he was thinking, and then rushed forward directly. After stepping over the undead released by Shang Kunlun, Xing Tian's body directly covered Xia Xing's realization. After seeing Xing Tian appearing in front of him without any rules, Xia Xing naturally knew the little things in their hearts. It's just that Xing Tian wants to use it as a cover-up, so as to cover their actions behind. But these little tricks are good to others, if it's Xia Xing, forget it. The moment Xing Tian appeared in front of him, Xia Xing raised his arm directly. It seems that Xing Tian's next move has been predicted. Grabbing Xing Tian's arm directly, Xing Tian's figure also blocked Wangfu Longdu's sight. After seeing Xing Tian's waving fist, there was no discussion at all. Although he knew that Xia Xing would never be threatened because of this, what he didn't expect was that Xia Xing directly grabbed his fist in front of Xing Tian. *1. No matter how hard Xing Tian struggled, it was useless. Advertisement. Before he came back to his senses, Xia Xing used all his strength to throw that guy 10 meters away. After feeling the strong impact from his body, Xing Tian didn't react at all for a while. Just like that, it fell heavily on the ground. After Wangfu Longdu saw the scene in front of him, the expression on his face instantly became tense, and then he immediately locked his eyes on Cao Yanbing. At least one success too. Wangfu Longdu thought silently in his heart. Now Cao Yanbing had appeared behind Xia Xing, and Tian Dian Yan Luo in his hand had condensed to scorching fire. If Xia Xing didn't even discover this, he probably wouldn't believe it himself. But they have come to this point, how could Cao Yanbing give up? Just as Xia Xing threw Xing Tian away and was about to fight towards Wang Fulong, Cao Yanbing made a full round. There was a tearing sound. It seemed that Cao Yanbing had exhausted all his strength. Half of the sky was instantly dyed blood red. After hearing the strong sound behind him, the corners of Xia Xing's mouth gradually rose. And this expression was clearly captured by Wang Fulongdu. At this time, he actually laughed. When thinking of this, Wang Fulongdu suddenly felt something was wrong. It seemed that Xia Xing should have been prepared. In this case, Cao Yanbing must be stopped, otherwise, his life may be in danger. But looking at the distance in front of him, it seems that it is too late. There was no other way. Wang Fulongdu had no choice but to rush out. No matter what, always try to catch up. But the moment he stepped forward, Xia Xing had already started to act. Seeing Xia Xing's actions, Wei Fulongdu's heart instantly turned cold. At this moment, the pillar of fire released by Cao Yanbing had already hit Xia Xing's body. This time, he didn't dodge at all. After seeing the flames still burning on his body, Xia Xing didn't pay attention at all. But at this moment, Cao Yanbing felt something was wrong. But the inertia of his body was about to bring him to death in front of Xia Xing. Advertisement. Chapter 325 Relax. Advertisement. After seeing the nervous expression on Cao Yanbing's face, Xia Xing also felt quite interested. These were all chosen by themselves, but looking at their nervousness now, it seemed that Xia Xing had also succeeded in making these guys remember him. Only then did they realize that even if everyone went together, they might not necessarily be Xia Xing's opponent. His presence made those guys feel tremendous pressure. Looking at Cao Yanbing's approaching figure, Xia Xing was also ready to kill with one blow. He didn't want to waste so much time on these people. What Xia Xing is doing now is just to clear obstacles for their pirate world. But what made him more concerned was that Xu Cheng didn't seem to have moved at this point. Since entering this space, Xia Xing has been keeping 950 attention on Xu Cheng, just to see how he operates. But even when Wang Fulongdu was about to die in his hands just now, that guy didn't react. I don't know if I can really hold my breath or what. Do you think the real star will lose this time? But at this moment, the red hair actually started to discuss these things. Xia Xing tried his best on the battlefield to make their future easier. The red hair is good, here we are discussing these issues leisurely. Are you kidding? It should be said whether he will save their lives. Looking at the current situation, Sengoku also said with a sneer. Except for those people in soul-suppressing world who have the guts to rush forward and are being beaten, everyone else seems to be waiting for their opportunity. Standing on the periphery didn't even enter the venue. Such situations are indeed somewhat rare. It's just that Xia Xing doesn't seem to want to target them now, and the next step is to follow the fate. As long as anyone dares to go up, he will accompany him well. It's like now that these two guys, after rushing forward recklessly, didn't play any role at all, let alone put themselves in such a dangerous situation. At this moment, Cao Yanbing didn't know how to escape, so he could only tightly hold the Shidian Yama in his hand. The guardian spirit is too far away from his position now, Wang Fulongdu has no way to rush over. Advertisement. It seems that he can only fight on his own. The moment he was about to land, Xia Xing's figure suddenly appeared in front of him like an afterimage. He was not given a chance to react at all, and before launching his own counterattack, Xia Xing directly shot down the Shidian Yama in his hand with a jerk fist. There was not even a single sound. Cao Yanbing was also nervous when he saw the weapon in his hand fall directly like this. The limbs became unable to adjust. Under such circumstances, Xia Xing did not relax at all, pressing on step by step. It looked like he was about to be stabbed. No matter what, Xu Cheng must be let to take action. See if he has feelings for these people in his pen. Just when Cao Yanbing had no power to fight back, Xia Xing suddenly grabbed his neck tightly and lifted him up in the air. After Wang Fulongdu saw this scene, the expression on his face instantly became tense. That guy, now, is doing the real thing. However, in his current position, it seems that he has no effect other than being anxious. Seeing this, Wang Fulongdu had no choice but to speed up. But at the moment when he was about to rush over, he suddenly discovered an abnormality. Just when Xia Xing was about to use his strength, Cao Yanbing suddenly broke free. The spiritual power emanating from his body also multiplied. After seeing the murderous look in Cao Yanbing's eyes, Xia Xing also slowly lowered his arms and walked away. It's finally started. When Xia Xing said these words, he slowly raised his head, and dropped Yu Guang into the territory of the soul-suppressing world. After Xu Cheng noticed his gaze, he deliberately dodged to the side. When he saw this, Xia Xing was basically determined. It seems that there is nothing to say. After Cao Yanbing experienced this feeling for the second time, he didn't feel any abnormality in his body. However, the spiritual power of the body seems to have increased a lot, and the speed and strength have been significantly improved. Advertisement. It was this illusion that made him think that he could already fight Xia Xing. After struggling to get out, that guy also immediately changed his course and charged behind Xia Xing. It seems that he still has full confidence in his speed. Originally, Xia Xing didn't intend to hit him, but looking at the arrogant expression on his face, he really couldn't stand it. There is no way, other than to make him realize the reality, Yuan Xing really doesn't know how to face him. Just when Cao Yanbing was furious and wanted to hit him behind him, Xia Xing suddenly turned around. He punched him impartially. After this punch, Cao Yanbing probably lost at least one row of teeth. He probably didn't expect that Xia Xing would still have a backhand. But after receiving this punch, he was not unconvinced. It's just that the thinking was not clear enough just now. How could someone with Xia Xing's strength show his back? It was only after he, Cao Yanbing, came to the top that he would have such an idea. But this time, other people in the soul suppression world were also shocked. The moment Cao Yanbing suddenly struggled away just now was too familiar to them. But I didn't expect that even with such a strong strength, it seemed that Yang hadn't changed in front of Xia Xing. It only takes a little effort to deal with it. Boy, get out of the way. And just when Cao Yanbing doubted his life, he suddenly heard a voice behind 0.6, which seemed to be talking to him. After Cao Yanbing heard it, he immediately raised his head and looked over. I saw that Shang Kunlun appeared here at some point, and his goal was very clear, which was to aim at Xia Xing. Although I don't like to hear this kind of tone, but now his situation is really embarrassing, it's better to stay here. When thinking of this, Cao Yanbing immediately dodged to the side. Right where he was just now, Shang Kunlun slammed forward, and Shang Yu slashed at Xia Xing with a long knife in his hand. A crack appeared in the ground under his feet in an instant, but this time for some reason, Shang Yu's angle was not very good, and there was still some distance between the place where the long knife fell and Xia Xing. Advertisement. Chapter 326 Establishment. Advertisement. What? The old eyes are dizzy. After Xia Xing saw the knife edge in front of him, he slowly raised his head and looked over. After hearing Xia Xing's ridicule, Shang Yu didn't make any response. It seems that he has his own ideas. When seeing this, Xia Xing also kept an extra eye. Now it seems that Shang Kunlun has other plans. Just after Shang Yu's crack slowly approached Xia Xing was already ready to dodge. However, at this moment, Xia Xing hadn't completely got out of the way, and Shang Kunlun rushed towards him directly. The problem is that Shang Kunlun is completely out of order, and he doesn't know what his purpose is. This guy, after Xia Xing saw his figure, he said helplessly. He really didn't know what this guy's purpose was. Go to hell, Shang Kunlun said silently, and at the same time appeared beside Xia Xing. With just one simple movement, Xia Xing dodged away. But this was obviously not Shang Kunlun's intention. After Xia Xing dodged, Yaran found that the crack at 28's feet was filled with the Great Emperor's aura. Xia Xing also felt a burst of smoke coming from under his feet, and when he saw this, he smiled wryly. This guy Shang Kunlun, wouldn't he just want to use this kind of thing to trap him? All the spiritual energy condensed in the bodies of the undead of the Chu army began to spread along the ground just now. It wrapped around Xia Xing's leg along the crack. But it looks harmless to humans and animals, so it is estimated that they can break free easily. But looking at the expression on Shang Kunlun's face, he seemed to be ready to treat this as his last chance. Just when the aura began to diffuse, Shang Yu waved the big knife in his hand again. In his thoughts, Xia Xing seemed to have no way to break free. After seeing the spiritual light flashing in front of him, a smile gradually appeared on the corner of Xia Xing's mouth, and then he slowly fixed his eyes on Shang Yu. But when the blade shone in front of Xia Xing, he was just about to get out of the way. But he found that the crack under his feet was not just a simple restraint. Before Xia Xing had time to struggle away, he felt another tremor from the ground. Countless undead souls of the Chu army broke through the cracks in the ground and struggled to get out. Advertisement. Most importantly, some of them hugged his legs tightly. Now, not only was it bound by the spiritual light on the ground, Xia Xing was really speechless after seeing this scene. If this is the case, there is no way. Xia Xing directly raised his head and looked forward, and the moment the long knife in Shang Yu's hand fell, there was a crisp sound. What happened next made them a little unbelievable. Those people in the soul-suppressing world only saw the long knife in Shang Yu's hand falling down, and there was a crack in time. The blade landed on Xia Xing's shoulder impartially, but no wound was seen on his body. On the contrary, the long knife in his hand has been broken. Although it is also formed by the condensation of spiritual energy, it is stronger than ordinary blades anyway. It really isn't that simple. For this ending, Shang Kunlandao was not too surprised, it seemed that he had already prepared for it. Of course, Xia Xing also heard his voice, and then said with a smile. After that, he immediately raised his arm and twisted it a little. But this trick of yours is very fresh. Xia Xing kicked away the undead sticking to him just now, and slowly walked towards Shang Kunlun. After seeing Xia Xing's figure, Shang Kunlun didn't run away either. Next, you have to make up your mind. These words came out of Xia Xing's mouth, followed by a burst of depression. Shang Kunlun didn't have any chance to react at all. If Cao Yanbing hadn't pulled him away, he would probably be the same as before Wang Fu Longdu. It was suppressed by Xia Xing. Quote. After Shang Kunlun was pulled away, he was about to thank him, but when he turned around, he saw Cao Yanbing. It stopped abruptly. It's really embarrassing to lose face in front of this brat. And at this moment, other soul-suppressing generals have also appeared here. They have also seen everything that happened just now. Now I have some understanding of Xia Xing's strength. If they join hands, maybe there will be a glimmer of life. Seeing them appear in front of him in great momentum, it is different from the 100,000 undead just now. Advertisement. Standing in front of Xia Xing were real people, plus the powerful aura released by each of them. Xia Xing had nothing to say, and this feeling made him excited again. Okay, it's over. Xia Xing said with a smile, then slowly raised his head and looked forward. The ringing sounds that kept coming from my ears didn't stop for a moment. The end. I think your life will end here. That is, you don't think you can get out of here alive today, do you? Listening to their words, Xia Xing really didn't know what to say instead. Is it naive or naive? But now it looks like it's all right. Get out of here alive. Xia Xing sneered. It doesn't matter to me anymore, but if you want to die 973, I can do it. Now that this was the case, except for those who had been in contact with Xia Xing just now, everyone else looked contemptuous. Let's have a good communication. What should we do next? At this moment, Wang Fu Longdu said suddenly. They knew that if they fought in the same state as before, there would definitely be no results. You must be strategically prepared. After Cao Yanbing heard it, he also nodded reluctantly. Although he has always been used to being alone, but this time the situation seems to no longer allow him to go on like this. Unless you say you don't want this life anymore. Obviously, they targeted the people of One Piece world according to Boss Shu's order before, and they succeeded in gaining the upper hand. He initiated the challenge this time just to vent their anger on them. And it came for the purpose of killing them. When thinking of this, Cao Yanbing was also a little nervous. After all, he almost lost his life in his hands several times just now. When thinking of this, Cao Yanbing slowly raised his head and looked in Xu Cheng's direction. Right now, he is the only person left in the stands in the soul suppression world. To be precise, he doesn't seem to be a character in the soul suppression world. But the people who created them. Advertisement. Chapter 327 Weakness. Advertisement. When he saw this, Cao Yanbing already understood. On the other hand, Xu Cheng also already knew the weakness, that is, there are not many pages in his notebook. Coupled with the content he wrote that he ignored before, there is really not much space now. If I knew it earlier, I would not be so frugal, and I would change my notebook earlier. There are not many opportunities for him to control the following battles now. But at this moment, Feng Xing's power has formed an incomparable pressure in front of them. Wang Fu Longdu didn't even dare to look him in the eyes now. For him, Xia Xing is now completely the existence of the ceiling, without the slightest suspense. Now we have to join forces. Wang Fu Longdu said lightly, but when he said these words, he didn't have much strength. Perhaps it was because the battle with Xia Xing just now made him realize the reality clearly. And without any suspense. Is this still necessary now? After Cao Yanbing heard it, he shook his head in distress. As for the teaming up they said, it seems that it has little effect now. Wang Fu Longdu was surprised when he heard Cao Yanbing's objection, he didn't know what was going on in his head. Apart from the fact that there is still a chance for them to be together, Wang Fu Longdu can't see any other hope. I don't know what else he can do. What's the matter, boy? Do you have any ideas? Wang Fu Longdu's eyes slowly locked on him, and said with a wry smile. Anyway, he has nothing to do now. Boy, don't forget who saved your life just now. Cao Yanbing was not very satisfied with Wang Fu Longdu's title at first, and then said coldly. Seeing his cover, if it wasn't just now, Wang Fu Longdu probably punched him long ago. Stop talking nonsense, just say what you have. Wang Fu Longdu's tone will not always be so good. Seeing that his expression became serious, Cao Yanbing could only continue talking. Look at their current state, let alone join forces, they probably won't listen to a word they say. Cao Yanbing slowly set his sights on the other people in the soul-suppressing world. Advertisement. None of them had experienced Xia Xing's baptism, so they didn't know what a terrifying person they were going to face. Under such circumstances, it is estimated that even if they talk about it, those guys will not listen to it. What's more, Cao Yanbing didn't want to talk too much nonsense to them at all. After hearing Cao Yanbing's explanation, Wang Fu Longdu thought about it himself, and it seemed that there was indeed some truth. But according to what he said now, don't continue this battle, just admit defeat. Wang Fu Longdu also had the same thought now, but he quickly shook his head. It is estimated that the heart is also in self-denial. He didn't expect that just coming into contact with a strong enemy would make him develop such an idea. What a shame. But putting aside these non-speaking words, just like what Cao Yanbing said just now, they have no chance of winning. Is there really no other way? After Wang Fu Longdu dispelled his idea of surrender, he also said to himself. Seeing his expression, Cao Yanbing started to murmur in his heart. It is estimated that if this battle continues, this guy will be completely driven crazy. If there is any way, you can ask that guy yourself. Hearing Wang Fu Longdu's words, Cao Yanbing also gave him a wink in Xia Xing's direction. This guy, as long as he teased him, he would be endless. And Xia Xing was watching them, almost falling asleep. In front of him was a huge space, but after that he didn't even move at all. I really don't know what they are going to do. Hey, what are you guys going to do, will you still fight or not? After Xia Xing yawned, he looked at them tiredly. If you still want to retreat now, it is probably a bit late. Everyone in their soul-suppressing world must stay here today. On the other side, after hearing Xia Xing's voice, Wang Fu Longdu also unconsciously felt nervous. Xia Xing left too many shadows on him. After all, he is his man of destiny, but he is invincible. So after hearing his voice, the DNA in the depths also trembled. Damn, if it wasn't too strong, I would never forgive him in such a tone. Advertisement. After Cao Yanbing heard Xia Xing's voice, he also said secretly. But it's all true. After all, it is still not strong enough. But, Shang Kunlun was silent for a long time, and when he was about to express his opinion, he was suddenly interrupted. That guy is on the move. Cao Yanbing was just about to raise his head and complain, but he suddenly saw Xia Xing approaching in their direction. Turning around and looking behind them, their posture seems to have no deterrent effect at all. I don't know why, but the one with the most people is the one who is nervous now. After hearing Cao Yanbing's reminder, everyone's eyes fell on Xia Xing in unison. Only when he was fighting would he instantly release this murderous aura. Those guys who were still complaining just now looked up at Xia Xing, and they could already clearly see the haki on him. Just a look is enough to act as a deterrent. Quote. This guy, what's going on? Now I really want to know the meaning of Boss Shu's words. Only when they were in close contact could they feel the threat Xia Xing brought. But this feeling, they may only feel it once. As Xia Xing gradually approached, it was too late even if they were nervous. In an instant, the whole sky Liao Nuohao began to flicker. Shang Kunlun was just about to react so that the next battle would not be so passive. But at the moment when the undead of the Chu army began to rush forward, there seemed to be an invisible barrier not far from Xia Xing. As long as it is touched a little, the undead will be instantly reduced to ashes. The amount of 100,000 cannot even be lost for a minute. Shang Kunlun estimated that when he saw this scene, his heart was bleeding. But there is no way. Shang Kunlun also had no way to stop Xia Xing. Seeing that Xia Xing had already appeared in front of them, those guys immediately summoned their own guardian spirits and stood in front of them. But it seems that the Reiatsu defense line after line can't slow down Xia Xing's footsteps. Before they came back to their senses, Xia Xing's figure suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. That's why they started to get nervous. Advertisement. Chapter 328 The Situation. Advertisement. Look quickly. Where is that guy? What exactly is going on? Seeing the chaos below, it seemed that no one had noticed Xia Xing who had appeared above them. Until streamers of light appeared in their sight. It hit the ground with a crashing sound. After hearing the movement from above their heads, they noticed the real star's position. But now it has become brighter. Looking at the streamers passing by, it seemed that they didn't want to die here. At the beginning, they thought that as long as they could dodge a little, it would be fine, but they seemed to have overlooked a problem. Now what they see with their eyes is the haki condensed by Xia Xing. After haki produced to impact, the sound of explosion was formed. The shaking of the ground also affected their movements, and after the impact of the explosion of the aura, everyone has formed a closed loop. When seeing this, a smile gradually appeared on Xia Xing's face. It seems like it's only a matter of time before they get rid of this embarrassing situation. Let's see how long they can last. 527. These people have no way to show their strength in front of Xia Xing. That is, it is completely passive. People in the marble world seem to have become outsiders at this time. When Saul saw this, he even started to feel happy. Xia Xing's actions are equivalent to avenging him. But other people are also feeling sorry for Soul Suppression World. Although the strength is good, such a high-profile way of appearance really makes them incomprehensible. More importantly, they directly selected the most powerful pirate world when they came up. Clearly aimed at them. But have you noticed that man? And at this moment, Stark suddenly set his sights on Xu Cheng. That guy in Soul Suppressing World has always been in his position, completely harmless to humans and animals, but Jinbang banned him. The human kid. After Saul heard his voice, he slowly raised his head and looked forward. Advertisement. Saul nodded when he saw Xu Cheng. I noticed it just now. Thor also looked forward following Stark's gaze. Although I don't know what Jinbang means, but that guy is somewhat similar to Xia Xing. Although he doesn't seem to have much strength, people in that world seem to have a special affection for him. And it doesn't seem to be jealous. It seems pointless to discuss these things now. Because Xia Xing will never let go if he doesn't achieve his goal this time. On the other side, Pirate World is very relaxed. Watching Xia Xing's battle, he seemed to be so bored that he fell asleep. There was no suspense in their hearts, especially at the moment when Xia Xing was about to get serious. For them before, it was just a foreplay. And after feeling the persecution brought by Xia Xing, those who challenged the soul-suppressing world were also in chaos. Some people even fell directly into the position. It seems that I really can't hold on. Seeing their distressed appearance, Xia Xing also had a little desire to fight. But just when he was about to kill them with all his strength, he suddenly heard a voice from Jinbang. More than half of the people in the soul-suppressing world agree to surrender, and the battle space is about to be closed. Close black lens bracket. The moment Xia Xing heard these words, Xia Xing was stunned, and slowly raised his head to look at Jinbang. What? Almost like a joke. Afterwards, the people in Soul Suppression World seemed worried that Xia Xing was going to react before the space closed, so they immediately accelerated their speed and rushed out. CIEC, the embarrassment made Wangfu Longdu feel contemptuous. But I have to say, this seems to be their only chance to survive. At this time, Xia Xing was as uncomfortable as if he had taken a bullet. But looking at their escaping posture now, it doesn't seem to make much sense to seize the opportunity now. There was no other way, so he had no choice but to walk back to the King of Formation with a dejected look on his face. But in the same way, Soul Suppression World has already paid the price it deserved. If the battle fails, they will lose the resources of the corresponding number of times, and in the way of surrender, it will increase exponentially. This group of bastards, the next time we meet, we will never spare them. Advertisement. When he returned to the barrier, Xia Xing also cursed angrily. I didn't expect the battle to end in this way. After hearing Xia Xing's scolding, the red hair also suppressed his smile. It seems that Xia Xing's failure to avenge them is still something to be happy about. But this time, the guy named Xu Cheng didn't seem to have played a big role. After Xia Xing came back, Whitebeard also said flatly. From just now, he has been paying attention to Shu Chunggong's movements. But apart from that time with Cao Yanbing, Xu Cheng didn't seem to have played any other role. That guy doesn't have enough notebooks. After Xia Xing heard it, he said directly. It seems that you are still not good at this kind of thing. Xia Xing seemed to have seen everything during the battle, especially Xu Cheng. Book. Not enough. Whitebeard was visibly taken aback when he heard this answer. It turned out to be because of such a wonderful reason. But it's a pity that Xia Xing couldn't solve them just now. That's right, but these guys probably won't dare to move easily for a long time. Xia Xing sat down slowly. Looking at everything in front of me, I was full of regret. But correspondingly, we have also obtained a lot of resources, and now we have no regrets even if we leave here. Sengoku said with a smile. Judging from the situation of the gold list just now, the resources of their pirate world are now estimated to have exceeded the sum of the other worlds. Under such circumstances, I really don't know what else to be dissatisfied with. Since this is the case, should we retreat? Xia Xing asked with a smile after hearing what Sengoku said. But when the others were still hesitating, they suddenly heard the voice of Jinbang coming from above their heads again. Jinbang's space will be closed, and the specific recovery time will be notified separately. Close black lens bracket. Xia Xing was taken aback when he heard these words, and then immediately raised his head and looked forward. Sure enough, the rankings on the gold list are now gradually disappearing. However, this is the first time this has happened. Advertisement. Chapter 329 Return. Advertisement. What exactly is going on? Looking at the gold list above his head, Xia Xing hadn't felt this kind of surprise for a long time. At this time, even the people in other worlds were at a loss. It seems to be the first time that such a collective closure has happened. Further notice. This is the end of the calculation, the resources of our world are estimated to be taken not returned. That's right, it doesn't make any sense at all. For them, it's like a gamble. It's just that luck has been replaced by strength. Under this absolute suppression, they have no chance of winning at all. At this time, the resources of One Piece world have already made a lot of money. But it's good, if we go back now, we don't have to worry about them secretly improving their strength here. Redhead is quite optimistic about this matter. Although it is said that the gold list has no effect on Xia Xing's strength. But if Whitebeard and the others leave here, they may soon be overtaken by people from other worlds. This is of no benefit to their entire group. So, the current situation is not bad. While they were talking, everyone's figures turned into a dotted line. Afterwards, the entire gold list space completely disappeared. Everyone returned to their respective worlds. Xia Xing and the others also appeared at the marine headquarters. I finally smelled the breath of the sea. After the red hair appeared here, he had a relaxed expression on his face. Then he lay directly on the sofa in Xia Xing's office. Hey, you are a pirate, lying on the sofa in my office, is that plausible? After Xia Xing saw the red hair's behavior, he walked directly in front of him. But just now, after hearing this, the red hair looked helpless. What, do you still want to avoid suspicion now? The redhead said with a wry smile. Then he directly fixed his gaze on Xia Xing. But Sengoku and Garp behind him didn't care about it, they just smiled wryly. Advertisement. And during their absence, the pirate world seems to have undergone some changes. This time Xia Xing and the others came back, bringing not only a large amount of resources, but also some other more important information. At this moment, I don't know what's going on in other places. And just when they were about to take a break, they suddenly heard a rush of footsteps outside the door. Xia Xing had also heard the sound early on. After that, he slowly lowered his gaze. Not long after, a sea soldier appeared in everyone's sight. Yuan, Marshal. The marine soldier seemed to have heard something and was about to report to Xia Xing. But as soon as he opened the door, he saw the scene in front of him. Not only Sengoku Garp, but even Whitebeard's red hair appeared in Xia Xing's small office. What's matter? Xia Xing also saw the face of the sea soldier clearly through many obstacles, and then asked immediately. But I guess he'll have to wait a little longer. That's right, those B************** D pirates. I don't know if he has slowed down or not, but Xia Xing asked him to say that he just said it directly. After hearing this word, the expressions on the faces of Whitebeard and the redhead changed instantly. And the sailor also realized that he had said something wrong. Then it stopped immediately. No, it's like this, there is a group of sea villains, and they are carrying out a devastating blow to one of our marine branches. After hearing this sentence, Xia Xing seemed to have no time to praise his dexterity. Can't you solve these problems yourself? What about those admirals? Xia Xing's expression looked a bit distressed, and he left for a while. Unexpectedly, Marine's deterrent power was greatly reduced. Those guys just heard that the marshal disappeared into this world, so. After hearing what Xia Xing said, the sea soldier immediately explained. What? Means that these are all our problems. Sengoku didn't leave him any room to fight back. The moment he heard these words, the sailor's face gradually became ugly. No. That's not what it means. It's okay, it's just that I'm a little bored now, I want to see which blind guy dares to act wildly on my territory. Advertisement. At this time, Xia Xing came out to smooth things over. How? Are you interested? Ask for flowers. Then Xia Xing also turned around and asked everyone. They didn't have any other opinions, except that Whitebeard wanted to go back to his place as soon as possible. After all, he hadn't seen his dear sons for a long time. What a disappointment. After hearing that Whitebeard was going to go back by himself, Xia Xing also seemed a little disappointed. I also thought that I could use your reputation in the pirate circle, maybe it could save us a lot of trouble. Xia Xing said with a smile, but Whitebeard directly exposed him. Let's forget it. Now in this ocean, it seems better to mention your name. After that, Whitebeard also asked them to borrow some people, and directly drove the warship back to his camp. These people will have to be returned to me by then. Seeing the sailors next to Whitebeard talking about playing divine comedy, Xia Xing was sweating for them. In case Whitebeard gets upset along the way, their lives are completely in jeopardy. Don't worry, I still have a sense of proportion. Although Whitebeard verbally agreed, Xia Xing had already suffered too much from this verbal agreement. After watching Whitebeard leave, the others set off towards New World on a warship. After Xia Xing became the marshal, the entire sea area was peaceful, whether it was marine or pirate, they strictly abided by those unwritten rules. Any conflicts are not allowed, and burning, killing and looting are not allowed. But who knew that such a problem would appear now? On the way, Xia Xing also had a little understanding of the situation. It seems that the opposite should be a new pirate group, which gathers pirates who are dissatisfied with the status quo. Influence is also constantly increasing. Xia Xing couldn't help smacking his lips when he saw this. It seems that this time the matter is not so simple to solve. Even if they were wiped out this time, their influence seems to have exceeded their expectations. In this case, even killing them thousands of times would have no effect. Sengoku also seemed to see Xia Xing's distress, and then slowly walked to his side. What's wrong? Is there a problem? After Sengoku came to his side, he also asked immediately. Advertisement. Chapter 330 Back Attack. Advertisement. After hearing Sengoku's voice, Xia Xing just shook his head. Nothing. But how could Sengoku believe what Xia Xing said? Stop lying, your expression has already betrayed you. After finishing speaking, Xia Xing could only smile wryly. He didn't intend to hide anything at first, since Sengoku had already asked, he directly expressed his thoughts. I think that the current pirate world is not so complete. Although it is said that they relied on the resources obtained from the gold list to make the entire pirate world tend to be in a stable state. But if this state lasts for too long, there will always be some other kinds of criticism. The fact that the marine branch was threatened this time was not an irreparable mistake. But maybe it won't be so simple next time. However, compared with the previous, 027, it is already very good. Sengoku also understood what Xia Xing meant. It's not nearly enough. Xia Xing replied. This was not what he wanted to see at all. As long as they leave here, everything seems to have never changed. If this is the case, Xia Xing doesn't even know what he has worked so hard for so long. Xia Xing's words went straight to the end, and even Sengoku didn't know what to do next. Xia Xing's vision is naturally much longer than theirs. After all, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. But Sengoku has sat in his position for so long, and there is some responsibility for this. For the future development of the situation, he can naturally make some choices. It's just that the current situation, as Xia Xing said, has gradually become uncontrollable. When they are in Jinbang space, everything here will be messed up in an instant, and those who plan to do evil will also seize this opportunity to sabotage. Even if Xia Xing and the others were able to suppress it every time, it would not have much effect after all, and they would not be able to solve the problem from the root. Sengoku slowly set his sights on Xia Xing. Looking at the way he was thinking, he felt a little guilty. If he had Xia Xing's thoughts back then, it is estimated that Marine's interior would have been rectified long ago. So now every time he sees Xia Xing, he can see his own shadow. But in comparison, his contribution to Marine and even the entire pirate world is far less than 1/10 of Xia Xing. Advertisement. It was this gap that restricted his thinking. After Xia Xing thought for a while, he still shook his head. It seems that I shouldn't think so much now. Before, he had placed his position too high, making himself full of constraints. I am really tired, and most importantly, they are now in the world of pirates. No matter how great a threat those guys are, to Xia Xing, Do is not worth mentioning at all. After 2 days of sea travel, Xia Xing and the others finally arrived at New World. But when I came to the marine branch, it was already a mess. It looks like it's still a step late. After Xia Xing saw such a scene, he also said with a wry smile. Fortunately, there were not too many casualties. Then I learned from them. This time the purpose of those guys is just their arsenal. As for the rest, there seems to be no interest at all. Under their leadership, Xia Xing and his party also came directly to the arsenal. Literally not a single bullet fell, as they say. When seeing this scene, Xia Xing also retracted his previous views. It seems that this group of guys are far more threatening than he imagined. Seeing the change in Xia Xing's expression, Sengoku and Garp guessed it. If it was only aimed at the marine branch, they would feel better. Now that the weapons of the entire marine branch have flowed into the ocean, the losses that will be caused cannot be estimated. The identities of these guys haven't been figured out yet. After seeing Xia Xing's sudden silence, Garp also asked the person in charge of the branch. It's been checked out, They are all old faces, but the guy who leads them doesn't seem to have any background. Xia Xing felt a little surprised when he heard this. No background. Don't even know the name. Xia Xing asked immediately. After hearing this sentence, the person in charge nodded. I don't know the real name, but from the people under their command, they all call him J. Advertisement. J. After hearing the code name, Xia Xing shook his head. This name seems to have never been heard before. That's right, it's J. We also did an investigation immediately afterwards, but found nothing. This is the first time such a thing has happened. Which direction are they heading now? Xia Xing slowly set his gaze on him and asked. If you know their movements, everything is fine. But what Xia Xing got next was a denial. This, because they tied us all up when they left, so. Xia Xing probably didn't want to listen to what happened next. To be made into this look by those pirates. It's really unreasonable. If there is any useful information now, please tell me as soon as possible, otherwise the consequences will be very serious if the obstacles cannot be cleared in time. Xia Xing also had a serious face when he said these words. It looked like he was really serious. Those guys are nowhere to be seen now, maybe they have already fled into a corner, waiting for the next impact. If Marine can't get first-hand information, it will become very passive. It was impossible for Xia Xing to be there all the time, and even if he had time, when he arrived at the location, the battle would probably be over long ago. Just press 0.3 according to their speed of rating the Marine branch this time. Even if Xia Xing said that, they couldn't think of any other information for the time being. These two uncles, do you have anything else to say? Xia Xing slowly shifted his gaze to Garp and Sengoku. Maybe there are some problems that he didn't notice. But when he said these words, the two shook their heads almost in sync. Looking at that expression, it was as if Xia Xing had already said everything they wanted to say. When seeing this, Xia Xing explained a few words to the person in charge. Then returned to the warship. After understanding, since they left, such things have happened no less than 10 times. This is also understandable. After all, Jinbang is about to invest most of their Marines' combat power into it. Advertisement. Chapter 331 Purpose. Advertisement. At this time, Xia Xing also realized the seriousness of the matter. After all, it wasn't what he had imagined. And more importantly, there seems to be some rules for how often those guys appear. After realizing this problem, Xia Xing also immediately asked them to take out the previous attendance sheet. Since Xia Xing started to manage, they also acted in accordance with every regulation. And Xia Xing also noticed something tricky at a glance. Is there a problem? 28 After seeing that Xia Xing's expression was a bit wrong, Garp also asked immediately. Now he could already see something in Xia Xing's eyes. After hearing this sentence, Xia Xing nodded. It's not a big problem, I just suspect that there is an inner ghost. Xia Xing said this with a wry smile. He really has nothing to do now, but he can't think of any other reason besides this. And just now, he saw some clues on the list. Otherwise, he would not have said this sentence. The ghost inside. Advertisement. Garp and the others suddenly looked surprised. Although they didn't know what Xia Xing based his inference on, they seemed to have no reason not to believe it. Yes, and more than one or two. After speaking, Xia Xing handed the list to Sengoku. After lying on it and watching for a while, the expressions on their faces were also very puzzled. It seems that I can't see anything, but I don't want to say it. In this case, if Xia Xing's explanation comes out, they seem to lose face. What's wrong? Can't you see it? But Xia Xing also saw that they were struggling a bit, and then said immediately. When they smelled this, Garp and Sengoku slowly raised their heads. Embarrassed. It's okay, just see whose attendance is full. Seeing that they didn't answer, Xia Xing reminded them. After hearing this sentence, the eyes of the two converged on the attendance sheet again. They didn't notice that Marine's attendance was not as impressive as they thought. There are only a few people who can do it without absenteeism. Advertisement. Seeing the following, Sengoku's brows also began to frown tightly. I really didn't expect that it would be like this. These people with full attendance should have been excluded, right? When the two of them saw this, they seemed to see some way, then asked immediately. After hearing their words, Xia Xing no longer knew how to answer. Said helplessly, if it is excluded according to this progress, how much work do you think there is? Afraid that they hadn't understood the meaning of the sentence 220, Xia Xing immediately opened Shikai and explained. These guys can focus on investigating. Xia Xing's words shocked them directly, just like Xia Xing thought, he didn't understand his brain circuit at all. When I formulated this system, I left some space. At that time, Xia Xing just wanted to see if there were any people worthy of training in Marine. After all, with such a workload, it is estimated that few people will complete it. But from the looks of it a while ago, it doesn't seem to have much effect. This time it did something unexpected. It seems that the purpose of being able to complete this full attendance is not pure. Advertisement. Chapter 332 Answer. Advertisement. After hearing Xia Xing's detailed explanation, Garp and Sengoku still felt a little bit confused. I don't know the basis for Xia Xing's words, but just according to his explanation, it's just some guesses, at most it's just a fantasy. Then shall we arrest these people first? Garp also asked tentatively. After saying this, he slowly shifted his gaze to Xia Xing. Hearing this, Jinxing nodded. Now anyway, it's always right to keep them under control. Xia Xing already felt a slight threat approaching them. Such sprouts must be killed in the cradle. Otherwise, they may not have other options. Are you sure it's okay? At this moment, Sengoku suddenly asked. When he heard this, Xia Xing looked at him blankly. Just do as I say, otherwise the problem of delaying time will be serious. Quote. After hearing this, Sengoku could only nod his head. When they saw this, they didn't seem to understand, but since Xia Xing had already spoken, it was easy to say anything. Advertisement. Then within an hour after Xia Xing gave the order, all the headquarters and branches started to act, and cooperated to arrest those people on the list. What's going on, you guys? Why are you arresting me? Have I committed any crime? What are you arresting me for? Hey, if it's like this, I won't be polite. Listening to their voices of resistance, the soldiers who were sent ignored them. Because the order they received was to arrest these people. As for the rest, they know nothing. However, these people were not directly arrested and sent to prison, but were taken to a meeting room. Just when everyone was wondering, they suddenly heard footsteps coming from outside the door. Getting closer. When hearing this, everyone's eyes quickly converged. Watching a figure gradually appear in front of them. Until Xia Xing appeared outside the meeting room door. The expressions on everyone's faces were a little surprised, but other than that, some people retracted immediately. But Xia Xing saw all this scene. Advertisement. What the hell is going on, Marshal? That's right, those people brought us here directly. After listening to their words one after another, Xia Xing shook his head at them. Quote. Don't say it yet. Quote. Originally, Xia Xing wanted them to stop explaining. But after listening to it, it still feels a little inappropriate. You should know why you are here this time, right? Xia Xing raised his head, paying attention to the expressions and reactions on each of their faces. Only then did Xia Xing notice their number. There are more than 30 good Zhao's people, big and small. And it also covers the identity from the Vice Admiral to the orderly. When Xia Xing saw this, he didn't know what to say anymore. These guys have infiltrated into their system, it is really a little scary. If it is discovered later, nothing may happen. Marshal, I don't understand what this means. And at this moment, they also answered what Xia Xing said just now. Advertisement. Chapter 333. Advertisement. After hearing their questions, Xia Xing looked helpless. These guys, until now, seem to still think that they can escape from birth. It must be good to have such a vision, but their current state seems to be unworthy of it. What the hell are you doing? But then, Xia Xing's eyes immediately made them shut up. Did I let you talk now? Following Xia Xing's words, the whole scene fell silent instantly. No matter how unreasonable they are making trouble, they should recognize Xia Xing's identity. After seeing them quiet down, Xia Xing sat down slowly. You should know why I called you here this time, right? After pausing for a while, Xia Kai spoke. But the reaction they expressed was similar to Xia 207 Xing's imagination. They all looked innocent, and they would ask Xia Xing questions from time to time. Marshal, what exactly do you mean? That's right, we really don't know, why did you call us over all of a sudden? Advertisement. After seeing their acting skills like this, Jinxing almost applauded them. You really don't know, Xia Xing asked deliberately, and then saw their sincere expressions. If Xia Xing hadn't already confirmed the result, he might have been tricked by them. Stop pretending, tell me, CIDB, who sent you here? Xia Xing hadn't said this very clearly yet, it should be about who bought them. Although in One Piece world, Marine's salary is not too high. But with the efforts of Xia Xing and the others, at least they don't have to worry about too many problems. Now it seems that someone has offered a higher price. Or rather, use certain points of view to impress them. In contrast, Xia Xing hoped for the former. In this way, he will not have too deep a sense of guilt. Marshal, what do you mean? I really don't understand. At this moment, the only Vice Admiral inside finally opened his mouth. You don't suspect that we are collaborating with the enemy, do you? Advertisement. After hearing what he said, Xia Xing finally saw the progress, and then immediately looked at him and said. Aren't you very clear? Seeing Xia Xing directly pick it up like this, Vice Admiral's face changed instantly. He really didn't expect Xia Xing to say something like this to him. No, Marshal, what do you mean by this sentence? I am just expressing their doubts on behalf of them. The Vice Admiral became flustered when he saw the way Xia Xing looked at him, and then immediately explained. Listening to his explanation, a smile gradually appeared on Xia Xing's face, and then he said lightly. Since you refuse to admit it, there is nothing you can do. After leaving this sentence, Xia Xing turned around and left before they understood the matter. They still looked puzzled. Just as Xia Xing's figure disappeared from their sight here, there was a sound of whipping outside the door. A group of fully equipped marine soldiers walked in directly led by Admiral. Without saying a word, he took them away directly. No, what do you mean by that? What the hell did we do? After hearing their roars from behind, Xia Xing didn't have any favors to show them. Advertisement. Chapter 334 Buying. Advertisement. But they have only themselves to blame. Xia Xing had already given them a chance, but he didn't take it well. If this is the case, then there is nothing to say. In the end, it was also under Marine's torture to extract a confession that they revealed some news about Jay, but it was very little. According to the information they provided, that guy named Jay only recently appeared in the public sight. But he seems to have planned it for a long time, and he must make all preparations when he makes a move. And they were bought by Jay's money. Otherwise, the extortion of confessions by torture this time probably wouldn't have played such a big role. That is to say, under the premise that they provide Jay with information, the actions of those guys will be so smooth. It doesn't even require too much investment, just need to know where the deployment of Marine is the weakest, and they can easily get what they want. It seems that things are not so easy to handle this time. After getting the information Xia Xing wanted, he immediately called Sengoku Garp over. After the two of them took the document in Xia Xing's hand, their expressions gradually froze when they saw the end. Now it seems that even if they don't believe it, it won't help. Advertisement. The truth of the facts is already in front of their eyes. They never thought that this kind of problem would actually appear inside the Marine. After seeing their surprised expressions, Xia Xing knew that they still seemed a little suspicious. After all, it was an internal problem. Don't worry about it so much now. Fortunately, these guys haven't caused any serious losses. Otherwise, it will be too late for us to cry. After Xia Xing said these words, he did not resolve the emotions of those two people. On the contrary, it seems to be a little aggravated. How could such a problem arise? Sengoku's words seemed to be asking himself. When hearing this, Xia Xing was also at a loss. Get rid of it, I am the person sitting in the position of marshal now, what's the matter with your expressions? Xia Xing said helplessly. It's just that Sengoku didn't respond. In his opinion, such a problem is very serious now. Ask for flowers, 0. Advertisement. By the way, is there only so much news about that Jay? At this moment, Garp finally found the center of the problem. Xia Xing shook his head when he heard this. The tension on Garp's face was palpable. This guy, it looks like he's really going to be difficult. 0. It's really uncomfortable to say this sentence from your mouth. Xia Xing said with a smile after seeing the melancholy expression on Garp's face. Let's go to each other. The most important thing now is to find those guys as soon as possible. Is their appearance clear now? This shouldn't be a big deal if those Marine insiders deal with Jay face to face. Jay came with a mask every time, and now there is very little information that is beneficial to us. Xia Xing also said helplessly. They really don't have any more information now, and they can only use the next time to slowly explore about that. Since they have begun to collect weapons and ammunition on a large scale during this period of time, it seems that they will soon prepare for a big move. Advertisement. Chapter 335 Action. Advertisement. Big move. Sengoku frowned upon hearing this. Xia Xing's analysis made some sense. After all, even the Marine branch dared to move, no matter what their purpose was next, their Marine would absolutely not allow the next thing to happen. Really, I finally planned to come back to take a rest, and this kind of thing happened again. At this moment, Xia Xing also said helplessly. Now his curiosity about the gold list, 153, is not as strong as before. The current situation was something that none of them could have predicted. And this Jay was the first time Xia Xing heard of it. If there will be more and more such things in the future, it will probably cause them a lot of trouble. Forget it, there is no other way. Garp said with a smile. And Sengoku didn't say anything, it seems to be the default. After all, he couldn't think of any better way. After the two were silent for a while, their eyes turned to Xia Xing at the same time. Advertisement. It was only at this time that Xia Xing didn't seem to have said a word since just now, and he didn't know what he was thinking. After watching for a while, there was still no response. Sengoku had no choice but to speak up. Xia Xing, do you have any better solutions now? Although Garp now suggests that they have to wait, this is not a panacea after all. If one is passive, it is likely to be seized by those guys. After all, even the inside line has been inserted into their interior, maybe there are some traps that they haven't noticed. If this is the case, their strategy of relying on strength to rise will not have much effect. It was only then that Xia Xing noticed their voices, and immediately came back to his senses. What? After noticing the eyes of Garp and the others, it seemed that he had said something to him just now. It seems that you didn't hear a word. After seeing Xia Xing's puzzled expression, Sengoku also said helplessly. Xia Xing didn't notice it for a long time. We're saying that we can only wait for Jay's next move, and we want to ask if you have any better solutions. Advertisement. Afterwards, Garp also explained and asked. If Xia Xing has a better way, at least they don't have to stand still like this. After looking at the expectant expressions on their faces, Chongqing Wunai shook his head. Now they know too little information, and there are many important nodes they are not there. Then now we can only follow what Garp said and wait for Jay to take the initiative to attack. Although it seems that it will be very passive, but now they have no other way. But we can't do nothing now and wait for death. After seeing the disappointed expression on Sengoku's face, Xia Xing said calmly after a while. We have to be prepared for this period of time. After all, there is no telling when the Jinbang will appear again. 4.8 Garp nodded when he heard this. It is indeed reasonable, the appearance of the gold list will not follow their wishes. You must be prepared to go to the world of the gold list at any time. Otherwise, they are very likely to be threatened by some unexpected threats. But this time, it's really weird. After Sengoku heard it, he slowly lowered his head and became silent. Advertisement. Chapter 336 Disappear. Advertisement. One thing after another seemed so strange. With the sudden disappearance of the gold list, so many troubles appeared in the pirate world. At this time, Xia Xing hadn't connected these things together. Now the resources they brought to One Piece are enough for everyone to live a good life. And after Xia Xing appeared, the celestial dragons didn't have any advantage at all. According to common sense, how could anyone rise up to resist at this time? And it's still against Xia Xing's marine. It's just messing around. No matter how strange it is, there is no way, this is our own choice. Garp said with a wry smile. It won't do much to say more now. 28. The most important thing now is Jay, none of them know that the guy's next move will appear in the time of the gods and demons, and where. You have to be ready all the time. In this case, maybe their chances of winning are even greater. Seeing that they were still hesitating here, Xia Xing really couldn't stay any longer. Advertisement. You guys chat here first, I'm going back first. After Xia Xing stood up and yawned, he also showed sleepiness. I don't know what's going on, after returning from the battle space of Jinbang, they are in this state now, and I don't know how Whitebeard and the others are doing now. There are still some questions. Seeing that Xia Xing was about to leave, Sengoku was about to stop him, but after thinking about it, he gave up. Anyway, things are not urgent at this hour and a half. But after Xia Xing went back, lying on the bed, he still couldn't sleep, his mind was full of various things. Jinbang battle space and that guy named Jay. Even though I racked my brains, my heart was still in a mess. The only entry point is the bot marine soldiers, but no critical information was found during the interrogation with them. In the end, Xia Xing didn't know how he fell asleep, anyway, he was awakened by the sound of a phone bug the next day. Looking at the time, it's not even bright outside yet. After answering the call, Xia Xing didn't sleep well at all. But after hearing the voice from the opposite side, he woke up instantly. What, is what you say true? Okay, I'll go right away. Advertisement. Xia Xing packed his clothes while responding to the voice on the phone. A smile gradually appeared on his face. The person in charge of the marine where the traders were detained just now also told him that there seemed to be some major discovery. Let him go there as soon as possible. The sense of urgency can also be heard from the voice on the phone. After Xia Xing heard it, he could only rush over immediately. When he arrived, the person in charge of the marine was also panicked. After seeing the expression on his face, Xia Xing immediately stepped forward and asked. What happened? Although at this time Xia Xing was already mentally prepared. It doesn't look like it will be good news. After that, the person in charge didn't say a word, and took Xia Xing directly to the place where the insiders were detained. When Xia Xing entered, he was stunned. Those guys are all dead. And it looks really abnormal. Seeing this, Xia Xing immediately moved forward. However, just as he was about to go in, he suddenly felt a murderous aura behind him. Advertisement. Chapter 337 Vulnerabilities. Advertisement. The murderous intent was gradually approaching, and at this distance, there seemed to be no one else. After waking up in shock, he turned around and saw the hideous face of the person in charge. And the weapon in his hand was already pointed at Xia Xing, and he swung it directly at the moment he turned around. When seeing this, Xia Xing didn't even dodge. The blade in that guy's hand slashed directly on Xia Xing's shoulder, but did not leave any scars. This scene also made that guy full of panic, but at this time, for some reason, the smile on her face gradually became rampant. Didn't expect to miss one. You killed all these people. Xia Xing slowly stretched out his arm and pinched the blade in his hand directly. The guy was about to struggle but found that he couldn't exert any strength at all. Xia Xing held the blade tightly in his hand like this. When he saw this, that guy seemed to have no choice. But it seems that he has already made up his mind. After all, the person I have to face alone is Xia Xing, the Marine's marshal. So from the beginning, there was no plan to solve him personally. Advertisement. But Xia Xing saw what he least wanted to see in his eyes. If those insiders who were imprisoned were for profit, it seemed that the guy in front of him had other purposes. And still holding the mentality of death to complete this task. Answer me, Jay is now in the place of gods and demons. Xia Xing slowly stopped what he was doing, fixed his gaze on him and asked. When he heard this sentence, that guy seemed to just sneer, and didn't intend to answer any of Xia Xing's questions. After hearing his cold snort, Xia Xing had no patience and slowly walked in front of him. That guy seems to have given up completely, and he doesn't intend to do those unnecessary resistance at all. Because he knew that no matter how much he struggled, the result would be the same. After finishing him off, Xia Xing looked at the imprisoned insiders, and none of them survived. Even the last thread is disconnected. By the next day, the news in Marine also spread immediately. Garp and the others haven't discussed a countermeasure yet such a problem has arisen again. Damn it, one thing after another. Advertisement. Sengoku now has a helpless expression on his face. It looks like those guys still know something. Garp showed a different composure at this time. Started to analyze. Now it seems that this is the only way to think, after all, it can make them kill people. It seems that those guys still know some details that they haven't noticed, maybe they can find some clues from them. But now, there is no chance. Just an omission, let them have such a loss. It seems that the road ahead will not be too easy for Li Hao. When thinking of this, Xia Xing also lamented. Quote. It seems that if Jay is not resolved as soon as possible, our future life will not be easy. Quote. Then Xia Xing smiled wryly. Although there are no useful clues now, the positive film ocean is just that big. And what they need to find is not Jay alone, but his crew. Finding such a goal should be easy. Advertisement. Chapter 338 Panic. Advertisement. Now contact the newspaper office immediately and publish the information on it, and we must find that guy as soon as possible. Afterwards, Xia Xing also ordered them to go on. Their current state was completely racing against time, but there was no other way. The only way to seize a chance now was in this way. Such news, if it is announced, will it cause panic? But what Xia Xing didn't expect was that at this time, Sengoku would still worry about causing panic. It seems that he had an occupational disease in this position before. What time is it now? And I still care about these things. The most urgent thing is to find those guys in the shortest possible time. Otherwise, their threat to 480 on the ocean will continue to increase. This is the result none of them want to see. After hearing Xia Xing's explanation, Sengoku also gradually fell silent. His idea is not unreasonable, but in comparison, those problems can be left behind now. Also let Whitebeard and the others pay attention. If they find anything unusual, they will definitely notify us daily. After Garp looked at the expression on Xia Xing's face now, he didn't say anything, but he also felt something was wrong. Unexpectedly, these guys would make Xia Xing so nervous. Advertisement. If you slack off at this time, I don't know what will go wrong. So we can only do our best to avoid this problem this time. Xia Xing, are you okay? After being silent for a while, and seeing the expression on Xia Xing's face, Garp couldn't help asking. Looking at his expression, he seems to have a lot of thoughts at the moment. After hearing these words, Xia Xing also shook his head mechanically. Nothing. He was just wondering what the hell those guys were doing to be able to do this. When he saw this, Garp could only give up. But at least I still have some ideas in my heart. After that, Xia Xing didn't have much worries, but he became more and more interested in this guy Jay. Not CIBC, as he expected. After a few days after this incident, those guys finally made a move. If it wasn't for this relationship, it is estimated that they would not spend a lot of time killing all those insiders. Now it seems that it is worth making such a sacrifice just because they are worried that their intelligence will be leaked. Advertisement. Where? After Xia Xing received the news at the headquarters, he also came to the main control room immediately. Looking at their flustered appearance, it seems that those guys have already started to do it. Impel down. In the panic, Xia Xing only got such an answer. The moment Xia Xing heard these words, Xia Xing also seemed a little regretful. Didn't expect to choose this place. But next, those guys don't want to do whatever they want. How many troops do we have around Impel down now? Xia Xing also asked immediately, so that the deployment could be made as soon as possible. After Marine under his command heard it, he immediately started to prepare, and said immediately after checking it. There are now about 30,000 Marine troops, and 3 Vice Admirals are also performing missions nearby. Upon hearing this, a smile gradually appeared on Xia Xing's face. It seems that he has a plan in mind. Advertisement. Chapter 339 Action. Advertisement. After seeing his smile, Marine next to him was surprised. I don't know how I can still laugh at this time. Although it is said that there are tens of thousands of troops nearby, it will take a while to rush there, and it is not another location. Impel Down has always been very sensitive. It seems that there should be no other purpose in coming to this place. Let them get ready now and don't act yet. Afterwards, Xia Xing's words surprised that Marine even more. Now I can't figure out what's going on in Xia Xing's mind. It's already this time, and they are still on standby. Now there are at least a few thousand people defending Impel Down. If you don't rush to support, there may be serious casualties. And Xia Xing seemed to have seen through their thoughts, and could see dissatisfaction from the expressions on their faces. Just do what I say, those guys won't kill people easily. Although I don't know how Xia Xing deduced it, after all, Admiral's identity is still there, and they have nothing to say. He could only do what Xia Xing said. And Garp and Sengoku are now ready to set off with a few admirals, going directly to Impel Down. With such a big fanfare, it is estimated that they have no other way out this time. Originally, Xia Xing didn't intend to get involved. After all, several admirals had already been dispatched, so there was no need to invest so much. Advertisement. Otherwise, if something unexpected happens, their Marine's face seems to be a little bit unstoppable. When thinking of this, Xia Xing also shook his head immediately. Unexpectedly, I also became the most hated person. But when their operation began, it didn't take long for the calls from the front line to go too fast. This time, it was Sengoku's flustered voice. Do you want to come and have a look? After hearing Sengoku's tone, Xia Xing already felt something was wrong. It seemed that they had discovered something extraordinary. What's wrong? At this moment, Xia Xing's curiosity was also instantly bursting, and he asked immediately. We saw a familiar face. After hearing this sentence, Xia Xing seemed to regret that he hadn't followed. And at the moment Sengoku seems to be running in circles. Ask for flowers. When seeing this, Xia Xing really couldn't bear it anymore. Tell me quickly, who is it? Also ready to go. Advertisement. But it seems that it should not be able to catch up. Before that, I still want to ask a question. But Sengoku still didn't answer him directly. However, Xia Xing seemed to have no initiative at this time. 0. Just let him start asking. Go ahead. People from other worlds, is it possible to appear here? The moment Xia Xing heard these words, the expression on Xia Xing's face gradually froze. This sentence is also equivalent to indirectly stating the problem. If this was the case, Xia Xing would probably start to get troubled. Such a thing should not happen according to common sense. After all, there is still a certain boundary between each of their worlds. Now this situation is really strange. Such a thing won't happen. But now Xia Xing didn't dare to be so absolute. After all, the existence of the gold list is to break their routines one by one. Advertisement. Chapter 340. Chaos. Advertisement. Who the hell are they? At this time, Xia Xing remembered what Sengoku said just now. It seemed that he was someone they had contacted in the battle space of Jinbang before. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible for his memory to be so deep. Soul Suppression World. When he said this, Jinxing himself was frightened. Soul Suppression World. After Xia Xing repeated, 520, was a wry smile. Ever since they entered the battle space of Jinbang, there have been more and more weird things. Now Xia Xing was a little confused about what happened. And this feeling, but he was very uncomfortable. How did they appear here? Xia Xing's words were more like asking himself. Do not you know why? After they were forced to leave the space by the gold list that day, they also returned directly to the world of pirates. It is estimated that people in several other worlds have the same experience, but the question now is, how did such a problem occur? Advertisement. When thinking of this, Xia Xing only remembered to ask that person's name. Is there only one person? Who is it? After hearing Xia Xing's question, Sengoku also answered immediately. That Shang Kunlun from Soul Suppressing World, now the entire Impel Down has fallen into chaos. When hearing these words, Zhenxing was already ready to go. I didn't expect that even if I returned to the world of pirates, I would have to face that difficult guy. But no matter what, this is the last time. Xia Xing will never be soft-hearted. And now he has gradually begun to realize that there is a pair of invisible hands manipulating all this. It's just that Xia Xing hasn't been touched yet. When that time comes, maybe everything will come to light and the truth will be revealed. Can you hold on now? When Xia Xing was about to leave, he also asked. Listening to the voice from the phone just now, it seems that a call has already started. It's okay, but that guy is really difficult, I don't know how long he can last. At this moment, Impel is down. Advertisement. Looking at the strange things in front of him, Shang Kunlun seemed to have already made preparations. But among the crowd, he didn't find Xia Xing's figure. Only two old faces, Sengoku and Garp, were seen. As for the manpower he brought this time, there were at least a few masters. Such a large scale made Garp a little bit astonished. This guy is not a person who uses some soul-suppressing world. Not to mention appearing here, there is still such a power, and looking at it like this, it seems that he has been in the world of pirates for a while. I heard from their report that this guy only appeared frequently in the recent period. Then there seems to be a serious loophole in timing. It stands to reason that the closure of Jinbang was at the same time. Even if that guy really came to Pirate World by chance, it seems a bit sorry for the time being 3.0. More importantly, this guy acted like he had a purpose. Ever since his name appeared in One Piece World, it has been a mystery. U or J. After that, Garp also came directly in front of that guy. For this name, Shang Kunlun seems to be no longer a stranger. Instead, looking at Garp in front of him, he gradually laughed, and his laughter was filled with a faint murderous look. Advertisement. Chapter 341. Advertisement. After seeing the smile on Shang Kunlun's face, Garp felt a burst of ignorance in his heart. I didn't expect this guy to appear here. And looking at his expression, it seems that he came to Pirate World not because of any accident. Long time no see, everyone in One Piece World. After seeing Garp and Sengoku, that guy also provocatively said this greeting. After hearing this voice, Garp didn't know how to respond. It's just too weird. Have no idea what happened. Under such circumstances, Garp did not dare to let his marine act rashly. After all, they are clear about that guy's strength, although they still don't know what's going on. But you have to be more cautious in everything, and the rest has to wait until the stars rise. But this time they were indeed careless, originally thinking that they were just a group of difficult pirates. But now it seems that the weight of these pirates is completely overwhelmed. Impel Down is okay now, isn't it? Advertisement. Garp saw that the people led by that guy were also surrounding the Impel Down, and he didn't know what was going on inside. I haven't been able to contact the warden and the others. After Sengoku heard it, he also showed a helpless expression. Since just now, there has been no news in Impel Down. It seems that these guys have already made preparations. If you surrender now, maybe we can spare your life. Just then, Garp's voice suddenly came. Sengoku was also surprised when he heard this sentence. If you provoke him again at this time, I don't know if the next situation can be controlled. But looking up at the expression on Garp's face, it seems to be full of confidence. What are you doing? Sengoku also asked in a low voice. It never occurred to Garp to make such a move. However, Garp kept his eyes on Shang Kunlun and didn't answer. Advertisement. Maybe he was also worried about being caught by that guy. Even if others don't know, Sengoku should know. The means of those guys can no longer be viewed with the eyes of ordinary people. Vice Admiral Garp, what is the origin of that man? At this moment, the marine below couldn't sit still anymore. We can't stay in a stalemate here forever, the soldiers in Impel Down don't know what's going on. It's just a little guy, don't worry. Garp deliberately let Shang Kunlun hear this sentence, and then saw a smile gradually appear on the guy's face. It seemed that he didn't care about what Garp said just now, but invisibly, the marine soldiers below already felt the murderous aura emanating from him. Looking at the pirates beside Shang Kunlun, they had heard of some of them. They are all vicious guys. Although I don't know how they got together, the current situation is really dangerous for the marine soldiers inside. Although they were not isolated and helpless, Garp and the others didn't dare to make any big moves now, before Xia Xing came. They are convinced that doing so will only increase casualties for no reason. What's the matter? Don't you care about the life and death of those companions inside? At this moment, Shang Kunlun seemed to have seen through Garp, and after seeing that there was no response here, he spoke directly. Advertisement. Chapter 342 Iron Fist of Justice. Advertisement. The moment he heard these words, the expression on Garp's face also gradually began to freeze. The iron fist full of justice is gradually clenched. Hearing the meaning of what he said, it seemed a little bad. It doesn't matter, you are now only responsible for what you did. Garp paused before speaking again. This is no longer a threat, and Shang Kunlun has made them ready. In this case, there seems to be no other way out for them. Responsible. Sorry, I'm really not very good at this. Shang Kunlun replied with a sneer after hearing what Garp said. Then don't blame us for being rude. Seeing that he didn't show any timidity, Garp could only speak forcefully. But Shang Kunlun saw through their reluctance at a glance. Just relying on you, do you think there is a chance of winning? Advertisement. Shang Kunlun seemed to know that Xia Xing would not be able to get here in a while. And even if Xia Xing appeared here, he would find a way to escape successfully. After all, the position they are in now is no longer the battle space of Jinbang, that place is too limited. As long as you fall into a passive position, you won't even have a chance to fight back. As long as you get rid of all of you before that guy comes, it should be fine. And at this moment, Shang Kunlun also raised his head suddenly, and fixed his gaze on Garp and the others. At the same time, the malicious smile on his face made Sengoku a little stunned. To start blatantly threatening them like this, it seems that this guy has considered all aspects of the problem. And according to Garp, their current strength is of no help to that guy. It will only increase unnecessary casualties. But before Garp and the others were ready, they suddenly heard a sound coming from the front. Sengoku looked forward slowly after hearing the voice. Shang Kunlun has already started to approach Garp and the others with the pirates beside him. Advertisement. Only when their lines began to spread apart slowly did Sengoku see the full picture of Impel Down. It doesn't look like it has changed at all from the outside, and the guards don't know where they are. Already, Garp saw Shang Kunlun's figure gradually approaching, and the expression on his face became a little nervous. I don't know what kind of trick Shang Kunlun is going to play again, but for them Marine, no matter what it is, this time they must go all out. Quote. Be careful, don't be intimidated by his posture. Although Garp is here to give thousands of instructions, but because of his tense nerves now, those marine soldiers also feel the danger of existence. Although it was under Garp's full strength that the formation stabilized, but when the marine soldiers below felt the Reiatsu brought by Shang Kunlun, some of them even became anxious to breathe, leaders to get up. Looking at Shang Kunlun's figure, he was already approaching them. If he didn't want to come up with some countermeasures, it would be very difficult to deal with them later. There is no other way, Garp can only take the lead to stop Shang Kunlun. But with his current state, I don't know how long he can last. After he stopped Shang Kunlun, the pirates beside him didn't dare to waste any time. Directly charged towards Marine's camp. Advertisement. Chapter 343 Attack. Advertisement. Garp can't control so much now, those guys are stronger than them now. If there is no other way, you can only fight hard. But the most important thing is to ensure your own safety. After seeing their figures, Garp rushed out first. The moment he stepped forward, Shang Kunlun smiled, not knowing what it meant, but the Reiatsu radiating from him had already permeated the surroundings. Sengoku also felt something was wrong at this time. In this kind of empty place, that guy seemed like a fish in water. Garp, watch out. And at this moment, Sengoku 330 suddenly noticed that Shang Kunlun made some small movements. He immediately shouted, but Garp did not respond. He had already discovered that he was hungry just now. On the square of Impel Down, following their impact just now, cracks suddenly appeared on the ground under their feet. Strands of Reiatsu overflowed from it. Advertisement. It seemed that he had seen this scene from the battle that day, and after Garp saw it, he also subconsciously bypassed the crack. But this didn't bother the guy much. After seeing Garp's figure moving sideways, CIFG, Shang Kunlun directly locked his target on the marine soldiers behind Garp. Following his furious shouts, pairs of skeletons suddenly appeared in the cracks in the ground, and they were trying their best to push them apart. Marine behind Garp became nervous after seeing this scene, and the formation just now was also messed up in an instant. When seeing this, Garp didn't say anything. At least from the present point of view, it seems that there is only one Shang Kunlun who appears here, and he must be eliminated no matter what. Just when the soldiers behind him were in chaos, Garp's heavy punch had appeared in front of Shang Kunlun's eyes. However, that guy's eyes did not reveal the slightest fear. In contrast, there was some playfulness. Although I didn't remember your name clearly, but that's it. When he came to Shang Kunlun, Garp heard what he just said clearly. When Garp heard this sentence, he didn't pay much attention. The iron fist condensed with Haki was about to fall, but at this moment, Garp suddenly felt a killing intent behind him. Advertisement. Before he could turn around, a snow-white blade appeared in his sight. Shang Yu didn't know when he would appear, and there was no sign of it at all. And the long knife in his hand has pierced Garp's body. Seeing this scene, Sengoku's face was also full of veins. That guy's methods are really despicable. But in this situation, it seems that there is nothing to say. Garp. Just when Sengoku was about to rush to support, the roar just now seemed to have attracted Shang Kunlun. Seeing Sengoku's footsteps approaching gradually, Shang Kunlun immediately raised his arms. Here Sengoku has not rushed out 2 steps, and almost fell down. The 2 pairs of arms on the ground directly grabbed his ankles tightly. After seeing the undead on the ground, Garp's anger exploded instantly. A golden light shot up into the sky, and the entire impel down was filled with such a circle of light. This is not the first time Shang Kunlun has seen this trick, but the feeling of novelty is still there. Advertisement. Chapter 344. Advertisement. At the moment when Sengoku sculpted the golden body, the undead beside him gradually turned into ashes and disappeared into the air at the moment of contact. When seeing this, Shang Kunlun was still very interested. But we still need to get rid of the Garp in front of us first. This is the purpose of his trip. At the moment before the gold list was closed, Xia Xing also wrote a line in the notebook. They still don't know when the gold list will be opened again, but it doesn't matter to them. The battle with Xia Xing had already exhausted them. If they didn't use special means, they probably wouldn't have any advantage even if the gold list was opened in the future. And Xia Xing can challenge them at will. That's why Xu Cheng asked Shang Kunlun to transition into the pirate world first, in any case to weaken their combat power first. In this case, Xia Xing might lose the qualification to challenge when the gold list opens next time. At least they can be guaranteed to be safe. Xu Cheng's idea is quite good, but now they are about to face a very serious consequence. There is no doubt that their actions this time will completely anger Pirate World. Advertisement. Regardless of whether Shang Kunlun can go back alive this time, One Piece World and them will definitely become opposites. After the last battle with Xia Xing, they also recognized the gap in strength. Compared with Xia Xing, the difference was not even a little bit. If he came into contact with Xia Xing head-on, Shang Kunlun probably wouldn't be able to hold out for 3 rounds. So Xu Cheng also told him not to act rashly, but obviously, this guy didn't listen. Seeing that the Haki on Garp is losing, Sengoku is going to catch up directly to support, but it still seems to be a bit behind. Shang Yu drew out his long knife and rushed towards Sengoku. The sound of stomping footsteps resounded throughout Impel Down, as if each brand was engraved on Sengoku's heart. On the other side, Shang Kunlun also slowly walked in front of Garp. Even if Sengoku knew what he wanted to do, there was no time for him to rush through now, plus this obstacle in front of him. However, just when Kunlun was about to make a move, he suddenly felt a whistling in the air. Before he had time to look up, Shang Kunlun suddenly felt the cracks under his feet. Ask for flowers. Almost didn't stand still. At this moment, the smile on Shang Kunlun's face finally disappeared, and it seemed that some serious person was about to enter the arena. Advertisement. Just after he gained a firm foothold, he slowly raised his head and looked forward. The situation changed suddenly. There were continuous beating sounds on the surface of the sea, and where the waves splashed, a ship's shadow gradually appeared in his sight. 0, 1, 2, 3. When he saw the back, Shang Kunlun had no intention of continuing. And from the mouths of the pirates he led next to him, he also heard the identity of the opposite party. It seems that it also appeared in the gold list, so I have some impressions. As that, the Whitebeard pirates. How did they appear here? After seeing the panicked expressions on the faces of those pirates, Shang Kunlun didn't think too much, but slowly withdrew his hands. Retreat. This sentence came out of his mouth lightly, and it seemed that he didn't have any unwillingness. But on Whitebeard's side, it seems that they are not ready to let the 4 of them go so easily. Advertisement. Chapter 345 Support. Advertisement. Whitebeard, and Sengoku, who was here, also heard the movement behind him. After seeing the flag flying on the pirate ship, Sengoku also shook his head with a helpless expression on his face. I didn't expect that one day the pirates would come to the rescue. No matter what, fortunately, it is safe to spend. Now all of them are safe. And the guardian spirit in front of Sengoku is also, 620, gradually disappearing. Sengoku rushed towards Garp immediately after seeing it. Fortunately, the place where the knife edge was inserted avoided the vital point. It's just that Kaka doesn't know whether it's because of dragging his tired body on the gold list before, or what happened. Garp seems to have become a little weak. At this time, he still flaunts his bravery, so it's no wonder that he was murdered by that guy Shang Kunlun. After he settled Garp, he also heard the sound of fighting coming from Impel Down. Advertisement. Although Shang Kunlun had no intention of continuing to fight, it seemed that Whitebeard had no intention of letting them go. The captains of the various teams also fought forward recklessly. Although it was difficult to deal with Kunlun, the pirates he gathered were nothing more than ordinary people. After seeing the Whitebeard pirates, there was no need for too much explanation. Just after hearing the sound of their fighting, I already felt trembling. It would be a miracle if he could continue to fight. And thinking of Kunlun, he could only watch helplessly as the pirates he managed to gather were wiped out by them. After the situation stabilized a bit, Sengoku also found Whitebeard. He is also a little puzzled now. The Whitebeard pirates will appear here. If they are not preparing to rob the prison, he really can't think of other reasons. Why are you here? After seeing Sengoku get on the boat, the other captains also came up. What? Is your marine territory going to be sealed off? After Whitebeard heard Sengoku's question, he didn't answer it well. But looking at the expression on his face, it seems that it is because of what happened to Garp just now, so it is not very good. Advertisement. Xia Xing asked us to come here. He found out that we are near Impel Down, so please come and help us, but he didn't expect that the dignified marine would be beaten up like this by a group of little pirates whose names are unknown. Looks like. After hearing Whitebeard's sarcasm, the showcase also realized that Xia Xing didn't tell them the details. The name Kunlun is familiar to you, right? After Sengoku heard this sentence, he didn't refute, but raised his head and looked at Whitebeard and asked back. After seeing the serious expression on Sengoku's face, Whitebeard thought about it for a while, and it seemed that it was indeed familiar. The person from Soul Suppression World appeared here. When Sengoku utters this sentence, the expression 1.3 on Whitebeard's face can be clearly seen. What did you say? People from the Soul Suppressing World appeared here. After repeating the sentence, Whitebeard also got the exact answer from Sengoku's eyes. If it wasn't like this, Xia Xing probably wouldn't have found you either. Sengoku cried and laughed. This thing is really weird. Advertisement. Chapter 346 Mystery. Advertisement. We haven't figured out what's going on yet, but it seems that there should be only that guy. In fact, when he said this sentence, Sengoku was also a little uncertain. After all, there have been too many unexpected things recently, one after another. If you say some irreparable words now, you will only slap yourself in the face later. If that's the case, things won't be easy. After Whitebeard heard it, Wei tended to be indifferent. No matter how nervous they are now, it is probably useless, and for them, there is only shock. Because even if all the people from Soul Suppression World appeared here, for Xia Xing, it was just a matter of one more or one less corpse. 28 inches. What are you going to do now? Whitebeard slowly set his sights on Sengoku, and there was still a line to draw between them anyway. But Sengoku didn't think of anything after being silent for a while, just shook his head for a while. The sound of sighing continued. Let's wait for Xia Xing to come over first. None of them can make up their minds about this kind of thing. Advertisement. After all, it has exceeded their cognitive range. Even Xia Xing couldn't believe it when he first heard the news. That's the only way to go, let's just wait here. Whitebeard said with a wry smile. I don't know how long it took. The scene of the Whitebeard pirates and Marine together lasted for an embarrassing period of time, but Xia Xing still didn't appear. Sengoku and Whitebeard didn't feel anything. After all, they had been together long enough. Coming. Suddenly, Sengoku saw the shadow of a ship, which appeared on the sea not far away. When they heard these words, Whitebeard and the others also turned to look. When he got closer, he could basically be sure that it was Xia Xing. However, there seemed to be another figure on his boat. After Xia Xing dragged Shang Kunlun up, Sengoku didn't know what to say anymore. But before that, Xia Xing took the lead in explaining. I was rushing over here, but I didn't expect this guy to bump into me by himself. And I think Kunlun is now completely controlled. Advertisement. However, he is still in a coma state, and from his current appearance, it can be seen what happened just now. Drag him down quickly. After Sengoku saw it, he immediately greeted the soldiers behind him and said. But before that, Xia Xing still gave a few instructions. After all, unlike their pirate world, this guy will not be able to transcend himself because of his ability, so a simple pair of seastone handcuffs is far from enough. But after explaining a bit, it seems that there is no better way to think of it. 920 inches. Forget it, just leave him here, wait for him to wake up and ask a few questions. At this moment, it was Whitebeard's proposal. Since he can't be locked up, that's the only way to go. By the way, how's Garp's injury? At this moment, Xia Xing asked suddenly. I haven't seen Garp since just now, so I can only guess and ask like this. Fortunately, there is no life safety now. But it can be seen that Sengoku seems to have something to say. Although Garp's life is no longer in danger, such a serious injury will definitely leave him with some troubles. Advertisement. Chapter 347. The knife falls. Advertisement. But Xia Xing didn't ask too much, as long as they knew it in their hearts. Afterwards, Xia Xing also asked the soldiers to bring a bucket of ice water. Looking at Shang Kunlun lying on the ground, he really couldn't stand it. How could I lie here so comfortably? Although it is said to be knocked out. When a bucket of ice water was poured on Shang Kunlun's body, that guy's body was also bursting with ice cream. Slowly opening his eyes, the three faces that appeared in his line of sight made him want to pass out again and go to the doctor. But that chance seems to be gone. After seeing him open his eyes, Xia Xing grabbed him directly. After seeing Xia Xing's face, he remembered the situation of letting go. Originally, seeing the pirates he brought were drifting away under the pursuit of Whitebeard's men, Shang Kunlun thought he could only go back first. But he didn't expect that he bumped into Xia Xing's boat on the way away. Just like what Sengoku said, this guy didn't even make it to 3 rounds, and he was already defeated. After seeing his current embarrassed appearance, Shang Kunlun probably wanted to find a crack in the ground to get in. Anything to say. Advertisement. Xia Xing and the others had all focused their gazes on Shang Kunlun, but that guy didn't seem ready to answer honestly at the beginning. He had been in a state of silence all the time. After Xia Xing saw his appearance, he just sneered, and then approached him directly. After feeling the haki emanating from Xia Xing's body at close range, the expression on Shang Kunlun's face gradually solidified. Now he is even more speechless, and now there is only endless pressure by his side. No, nothing to say. But under Xia Xing's threat, if he keeps silent like this, the ending waiting for him seems to be the same. No matter what, you must speak first. Otherwise, it is estimated that there are no good socks to eat. But his answer was obviously not what Xia Xing wanted to hear, and Xia Xing frowned slightly. Are you going to die by my hands? Xia Xing said coldly, the eyes staring at Shang Kunlun were already full of murderous intent. That guy can naturally feel it, but in the current situation, they seem to have no other way. If you want to kill it, what nonsense. Advertisement. After hearing Xia Xing's threat, Shang Kunlun seemed to have remembered something, and suddenly straightened his back. Looking at his transformation, Xia Xing was also a little surprised. But then, a smile appeared. Quote. In that case, I can only satisfy you. Quote. After leaving these words, Zongxing's next actions made everyone present unexpected. A ray of blood splashed across, and Shang Kunlun's body fell vertically like this. When Sengoku saw this scene, delighted by Zhao Hao, he was so shocked that he couldn't speak, and he hadn't had time to react at all. Should I kill him now? Whitebeard also said with a wry smile. It seems that no useful news has been obtained from him. After hearing his question, Xia Xing also started to explain. Don't worry, no matter how much we ask, this guy won't answer. After finishing speaking, Xia Xing also stood up slowly. Advertisement. Chapter 348 Backtracking. Advertisement. Thanks to you this time, there should be nothing left, we can handle it ourselves. The first time he stood up, Xia Xing turned to Whitebeard and said. Seems to be ready to see off, but Whitebeard doesn't seem ready to leave yet. Shouldn't it be assumed that what happened this time didn't happen? When he said this, Whitebeard's eyes were fixed on Shang Kunlun. People from Soul Suppressing World appeared here without warning. And looking at the time, after the golden list disappeared, there seemed to be a time difference between them. So Shang Kunlun actually appeared before them. Xia Xing also shook his head 320 times when he heard this. Regarding these issues, he himself did not figure it out. When the next gold list is opened, there is no need to give them any chance. Although Xia Xing said so, there are still many uncertainties about what will happen afterwards. No one knows what will happen, and more importantly, they don't even know when the gold list will appear. Advertisement. And at this moment, in other worlds. This also happened. In the absence of shelter, Wangfu Longdu and King appeared in the Marvel world and DC universe. Unlike Pirate World, their appearance directly brought great trauma to these two worlds. There was simply no time to react. Xu Cheng's idea is that since there is no way to get resources in the Battle of the Gold List, just go straight. But the problem now is that they seem to have to wait until the next gold list appears before they can come back again. This is the only thing that Xu Cheng is worried about. If the battle space of Jinbang does not appear again, all his plans seem to come to naught. Nothing works. Facing such a situation, Xu Cheng was desperate. But things don't seem to be as full of gullies as they imagined. 2 weeks later, each world also received the call of the gold list again. Seeb. It's just that when they reappeared in this space, their figures seemed to become sparser. Advertisement. In One Piece world, Garp also did not appear in the space due to injury. In other worlds, it seems that there are many fewer people. When seeing this scene, the expression on Xia Xing's face gradually began to freeze. Because he saw endless murderous looks in the eyes of people recruited from other worlds, and they all pointed to the same place. That was the soul-suppressing world that Xu Cheng was in. It seems that we are not the only ones who are favored. When Xia Xing saw this, he also said with a smile. They still haven't figured out what's going on, and the only guess is Xu Cheng. If it is possible to do this, it is estimated that he is the only one. And it seems that only Shang Kunlun from One Piece World has not returned in their camp. Xu Cheng seemed to have already felt this matter. However, he was not too shocked, because the results in other worlds were enough to offset Shang Kunlun's defeat. And this time, he came here again with a revenge mentality. No matter what, the pirate world must disappear. Now there is only this one stone left on their road, and they have to move their road to continue walking. Advertisement. Chapter 349 Countermeasures. Advertisement. It is estimated that the soul suppression world has already figured out a countermeasure at this moment. Otherwise, it is estimated that they would not have such an expression now. Seeing that most of the other worlds are already in a mess, this is completely playing with fire. If they succeed, they will definitely achieve their goals. But if they fail, not only Xia Xing, but people from other worlds will probably step on them. In any case, their action this time was too risky. Looks like we're going to have a tough time off. And Xu Cheng also realized that something was wrong with the current atmosphere. Although it is separated by many worlds, it can still be clearly felt. The eyes from other worlds are full of hostility. And at this moment, Wangfu Longdu also discovered that one of them seemed to be missing. By the way, where's Shang Kunlun? Why haven't you seen him? After finishing speaking, they also slowly turned around and glanced around. It seems that Shang Kunlun has not been found. This is not important now, how are you doing in your respective worlds? Advertisement. After Xu Cheng saw their puzzled eyes, he pretended nothing happened and said. Almost. Those guys are a little too weak. That is, there is no challenge at all. After seeing their confident appearance, Xu Cheng also knew that there should be no problem. It's just that Shang Kunlun lost his life in the pirate world. The others are fine, after all, Kunlun hasn't appeared until now, and they have already guessed it in their hearts. The expression on Lu Yuchen's face fluctuated. After all, he is his half-brother. Next, it's up to us. At this moment, Xu Cheng suddenly spoke. When hearing these words, everyone's eyes were tightly locked on him. For some reason, they seemed to have felt the tense atmosphere now. If they fail this time, they will have nothing left. At the beginning, Xu Cheng started to deploy with such preparations. And now, it's time to reveal. Advertisement. It's just that what they didn't expect was that the gold list reappeared faster than they imagined. Asterisk TT. This time we have no other way out. Xu Cheng also explained the situation to them before starting. Anyway, their number one enemy now is Pirate World. And this time is different, Xia Xing and the others won't stop just because they taught them a lesson last time. On the contrary, the failure of Shang Kunlun's operation this time may have exposed his identity. This kind of thing can also be seen from the eyes of Xia Xing and the others just now. It's just that he didn't say it directly. After Wangfu Longdu heard it, he nodded. However, there was a bit of panic in his expression. After they felt the fear brought by Xia Xing, they had to think about everything they did. Leaving aside the others, even if Xia Xing only used 1/10 of his full strength, they might not be able to bear it. This situation is really not good for them. What's more, now that Xia Xing has set his target firmly on them, if there is no result today, it is estimated that he will definitely not give up. Advertisement. Chapter 350 Staring. Advertisement. And when Xia Xing was watching them, he also noticed Xu Cheng's eyes. From time to time, he looked at him, and it seemed that he was deploying some kind of battle plan. When thinking of this, Xia Xing just sneered. It is estimated that those guys also know in their hearts that this is completely useless work. If you have this time, you might as well go to pray. Anyway, Xia Xing's level, it will be very difficult for them to pass the 451. Those guys. And at this moment, Sengoku's voice suddenly came. When Xia Xing heard this, Xia Xing slowly turned around, only to see Sengoku looked annoyed, and his eyes full of murderous intent also fell directly on the side of the soul-suppressing world. It seems that this time they are very sad about this level. And at this moment, the voice of Jinbang finally sounded. However, after the above list appeared, everyone was taken aback. The names of those who did not participate naturally did not appear on it. However, all the previous rankings have been remade. Advertisement. When he saw this, Xia Xing didn't know whether this situation was beneficial to him for the time being. After all, in the current situation, for him, he may have to rejoin the game class that entered the gold list. If this is the case, it is only a matter of time before regaining the top spot. And there is still a chance to take revenge on the world of war spirits. But Xia Xing's only worry now is that those guys in the soul-suppressing world, after they joined in before, Xia Xing found that the rules made by the gold list are more or less in favor of them. More importantly, those guys seem to be able to enter and exit other worlds at will. Although he didn't know the reason for such an existence, Xia Xing already felt something bad in his subconscious mind. Breakthrough mode. In preparation. The voice of Jinbang troubled them even more. Breakthrough mode. When Whitebeard heard this, he looked surprised. Now the rules of the gold list are becoming more and more unfamiliar to them. After hearing the rules, Xia Xing was also a little stunned. It seems that during the period of time when the gold list disappeared, it also completed the upgrade. They will be in a world of gold list together, where there are a large number of ghosts and spirits. Advertisement. They must find the ultimate way in this world and complete the adventure. The first team to reach the designated location will get the Emperor's resources. In addition, they can use any means, and the method of elimination is also very simple. That is to kill everyone in that world. When he heard this, Xia Xing could already see some panic from the expressions on those guys' faces. Are you kidding me? Is there any suspense here? The eyes of those people from other worlds gradually focused on Xia Xing. They seem to be a little confused about the existence of this game now. For Xia Xing, their pirate world may win the championship directly. And other teams, if they want to save their lives, they can only compromise at 5.7. There was no way, in such an open space, they didn't seem to have any restrictions on Xia Xing. We can only wait for the judgment to come. Under such circumstances, it is not known how long they can last. Now it's interesting. On the other side, after Xu Cheng heard Jinbang's introduction, a smile appeared on the corner of Xu Cheng's mouth. Advertisement. Chapter 351 Competition. Advertisement. And this scene was also noticed by the red hair. Anyway, that guy's smile is really unbelievable. But in the end, the gold list also marked a special rule. For Xia Xing, it was really a bit of a restraint. The strength of all the hostile forces here was adjusted according to the combat effectiveness of the contestants. That is to say, if Xia Xing fights against the other ghosts, he will not have any advantage over others. Chongqing's head also started to spin rapidly when he heard this. 28. It seems that they have only one purpose in formulating such rules. Their biggest obstacle is not opponents from other worlds, maybe they will not encounter one from the beginning to the end. But the ghost set by the gold list may be more difficult than they imagined. When thinking of this, Xia Xing was also a little distressed. In this case, it is really not good news for him to accept. It's a bit difficult now. Edward Newgate also revealed a bit of bitterness after listening to it. Advertisement. Fortunately, if they can meet people from other worlds, the advantage is still there. However, it is estimated that they have already begun to discuss countermeasures. The first point is definitely to avoid Pirate World. After all, they don't want to fall into Xia Xing's hands again. And just before they were ready, the countdown from the gold list had already been issued. As the last sound fell, beams of light suddenly appeared above them. The moment it fell vertically, the entire ground was illuminated. The small spaces in each world also reacted, and then they were sucked in. When they opened their eyes again, they had already appeared in a strange place. After glancing around, it seems that it should be the space mentioned by Jinbang. But Xia Xing didn't feel anything special when he saw this place. Just like a primitive forest, there are also flowers, birds, insects and snakes in it. What shall we do now? After seeing the scene in front of him, Sengoku asked lightly. Advertisement. It is estimated that people from other worlds have also appeared in this space, and now they don't even know how big this place is. Not to mention finding that final place. Don't worry now, let's see if there is something special nearby, and get to know this space well. After Xia Xing heard Sengoku's question, he immediately answered. Although Jinbang had already explained the rules of the game to them before, but after arriving here, there are some things that must not be stick to the rules. This is also a big taboo for them, they just need to believe what they feel in this space now. To put it bluntly, this place is no different from the battle space of Jinbang, except that 913 is wider. And on the basis of that space, some characteristics of their respective worlds have been added. However, we don't know the progress of others at all now. If we fall behind, it will be a bit bad. Edward Newgate also began to analyze, the current situation should not have any advantages for them. It is because of this that they must do their best. After all, it was said in the reminder of the gold list just now, except for the eliminated teams, the last three will be punished. Whitebeard had a hunch that the punishment this time would definitely not be as simple as reducing the world's resources, it might be even more serious. Advertisement. Chapter 352 Spirit Beast. Advertisement. I know this well, so now we can only watch as we walk. Xia Xing shrugged helplessly when he heard this. For them, they can't make too many moves now, so as not to expose their position. Because they are in this space, they can feel cold and hungry. It seems to be fully integrated. It can only be the. Edward Newgate said with a wry smile. They don't know anything about this place. And I still don't know what the ghosts set by Jinbang are. It reminds me of my previous survival adventures. When thinking of this, a smile gradually appeared on Xia Xing's face. It seems that he still has some experience in these things. Advertisement. I just don't know if those experiences are applicable to this place. And just before they were ready, there was a sudden roar from the jungle behind them. The sound it made also caught their attention instantly. When he turned around and looked around, there was also a little movement in the range of noises in the jungle. When he saw this, Xia Xing was not too nervous. No matter whether it was the ghosts or people from other worlds who came out of it later, they should be the ones who should feel the fear. And the red hair seemed to be unable to hold back the curiosity in his heart, so he drew his knife and walked forward. Xia Xing and the others just watched like this, watching the red hair gradually approaching. But when he took an unknown number of steps, the red hair also felt a little bit of tension, as if he smelled danger. When he slowed down, everyone held their breath. Before Hongfa could find out, there was a muffled thunder in the air, and with the tremors of the crowd, an animal-like thing suddenly emerged from the jungle, but looking at his body, it tended to be translucent. And Xia Xing also thought of the spirit body mentioned in the gold list for the first time. If he didn't guess wrong, it should be this thing. Grab it. Sengoku next to him seems to react faster. Advertisement. This thing seems to work for them. After hearing Sengoku's loud sound, the redhead reacted. Then he immediately locked his target on the spirit beast. This spirit beast seemed to be able to change into the appearance of any animal, not only the appearance, but even the movements were exactly the same. After seeing the red hair noticed, the spirit beast also turned around and fled immediately. The rabbit-like appearance disappeared into the jungle in an instant. When seeing this, maybe it was because of Sengoku just now, the red hair also quickly chased after seeing the spirit beast fleeing. But his current speed seems to be completely insufficient, and he can't even touch the tail of the spirit beast. Okay. After seeing the red hair gradually becoming anxious and uneasy, the others immediately surrounded him and grabbed it. Quote. Can you do it anyway? Even after a few people gathered around, things didn't seem to be progressing well. Whitebeard fell asleep watching. After hearing Whitebeard's voice, they didn't have time to respond. That guy's speed is really too fast. Advertisement. Chapter 353 Aura. Advertisement. But looking at the speed of the spirit beast, it seems that there is indeed something different. And there are bursts of spiritual light behind him. It looks precious. No matter what you say, you can't let go of this opportunity. But at this moment, Xing Xing suddenly noticed something strange, and frowned. Careful. When he shouted these words, the red hair had already seen a figure suddenly appearing in front of him. Without responding, he stopped immediately. When he slowly raised his head and looked forward, a skeleton appeared in front of him. When the red hair saw this, he already felt the murderous aura emanating from the 170 on that thing. Then he drew his knife and pointed forward. But what I didn't expect was that the speed of that thing was no less than that of the spirit beast just now. The agile body directly bypassed the red hair's attack range. Even the long knife in the red hair's hand almost fell. When seeing this scene, other people also felt unbelievable. Advertisement. If I didn't guess wrong, this should be the so-called white ghost. Looking at this appearance, I am really not interested. But at this moment, the red hair hadn't thought of a countermeasure, but suddenly saw that the spirit beast turned into a cheetah, and rushed towards the strange ghost. When she saw this, the red hair also became nervous. She finally found a spirit beast, so she must not be spoiled by that strange ghost. When thinking of this, the red hair also rushed forward immediately. But it seems that it is still a step too late. The spirit beast seems to have some deep hatred with the strange ghost, and it is about to pounce on the strange ghost with its hideous face. And that thing, in the deep skull, actually showed a wicked smile. Seeing that he was about to stretch out his claws and swing towards the spirit beast, the red hair couldn't catch it, so he threw the long knife in his hand forcefully. It directly surpassed the spirit beast and stabbed at that thing. Then, before the other ghosts escaped, Whitebeard finally made a move. Suddenly, a violent tremor was heard. The entire ground shook violently. Xia Xing felt helpless when he saw this. It is a bit too much to make a fuss over a molehill. But in the next second, Zhengxing was completely offended. Advertisement. At the moment when the ground cracked, the skeleton rose into the air and clasped tightly on the nearby tree with its sharp claws. With such a sensitive movement, it feels better than the red hair. Damn, is this mocking us? The redhead slowly pulled the long knife out of the ground, and gradually became annoyed when he saw the offended expression on the other walker's face. But there is no way. It's really interesting, Xia Xing said with a wry smile after seeing the scene in front of him. These few people were turned around by a skeleton. Can you do it? If you can't, I'll go. Xia Xing really couldn't stand it anymore, and the spirit beast next to him didn't seem to have any experience. After saying this, Xia Xing also slowly moved forward. The strange ghost also noticed Xia Xing's figure very quickly, and then showed a fierce look, and roared at Xia Xing. It also seemed to feel threatened. Just before Xia Xing passed by, the strange ghost suddenly let go of its claws, and after falling to the ground, it rushed towards Xia Xing at the fastest speed. The successive sounds also made Xia Xing a little impatient. At the moment the strange ghost rushed up, Xia Xing suddenly opened his palm and pressed his head tightly. Advertisement. Chapter 354. Capability. Advertisement. Is this the only amount of patience? Xia Xing controlled the strange ghost with just one hand. No matter how hard he tried, it seemed to have no effect in front of Xia Xing. And when he was about to withdraw, it was already too late. Xia Xing punched him directly in the chest. There is no need to use all your strength. That guy gradually fell in front of Xia Xing. After seeing his body gradually reduced to ashes, Xia Xing seemed to feel a little disappointed. Originally thinking about the reminder from the gold list before, I thought this thing could be beaten. That's all. But right now it seems that everyone's attention is not here. Didn't even notice. The White Walkers had been reduced to ashes. Instead, it was surrounded by the spirit beast. What are you looking at? After seeing the focus of their eyes, Xia Xing immediately walked in that direction. After getting no answer, Xia Xing pushed them away. Advertisement. The spirit beast seemed to have returned to its normal state. It looked a little fluffy. The spiritual energy emanating from his body also condensed on the wound it left just now, and gradually began to heal. Although this is no longer a rare thing. But when they saw this little thing, they still felt a little novel. Just when everyone's eyes were fixed on it, the little thing started to get hairy again. It wants to scratch people when it opens its claws. But now it seems that there is a lack of energy, and there is no way to transform. Xia Xing also showed a smile when he saw this. In that case, I'll leave this spirit beast to you, red-haired. After saying this, the red hair didn't react at all. Inexplicably, there is such a burden. Just when he was about to refute something, he found that Xia Xing didn't leave him a chance at all. Okay, hurry up and find something to eat. If this continues, you will starve to death. After saying this, he didn't notice the red hair at all. Advertisement. The sky gradually dimmed, and they didn't know what kind of danger was waiting for them. They are also ready, and they are on duty in groups of 2, so that they can respond in time if there is any danger. 0. Asking for flowers. Now their enemies in this place are not just the White Walkers. If I didn't guess wrong, those guys in Soul Suppression World will definitely not be idle at this time. On the other side, just as Xia Xing said, Soul Suppression World is now in a state of intense heat. Not long after I arrived at this place, I encountered the world of Marvel. How could they miss this opportunity? The hunt began immediately. They are also clear about the strength of these guys, and finally escaped from their encirclement under the cover of Captain Marvel. There is really no way. The Soul Suppressing World's lineup is not only strong, but also has a large number of people. If it weren't for Xia Xing, no one would be able to withstand such indiscriminate raids. But just when the Marvel world felt that it was safe, it ignored it. They stumbled into a dangerous situation. There were various noises in the jungle, and Stark and the others didn't pay attention at first. After all, he had just escaped from the clutches of the soul-suppressing world, so nothing mattered anymore. Advertisement. Chapter 355 Change. Advertisement. Have you noticed? But at this moment, the Green Titan's body seemed to have some reactions, and then he stopped directly. What? After seeing the Green Titan stop, Saul turned around and asked. If it was a sound, there would be no need for it, it was accompanied by such weird sounds along the way. They are also used to it. But the Green Titan stretched out its finger at 620, and pointed to a place in front of it. After Saul saw it, he immediately focused his gaze on it. I saw a black shadow not far in front of me. Everyone immediately became vigilant, thinking that the pursuers from Soul Suppression World had already caught up. Those guys, are they going to end? Only this time they were mistaken. As the figure gradually increased, Stark also realized that something was wrong, and then he activated the device and slowly moved forward. Advertisement. Everyone is also in a state of fear. If it was those guys from Soul Suppressing World, they probably wouldn't be able to hold back for such a long time. And those black shadows in front of them had no intention of coming towards them at all. As Stark approached slowly, the outlines of those black shadows gradually became clear. Then Stark stopped in his tracks, stunned. After seeing Stark in such a state, the others were also curious. Didn't even know what happened in front of it. What is going on? Are you all right? Thor and the others also became nervous after seeing Stark standing still. After a while, Stark didn't wait for an answer. The group of black shadows behind them seemed to have noticed them, and then they quickly began to gather. When one of the White Walkers saw Stark, it even rushed up directly. Advertisement. A golden light flashed, but Stark immediately threw his fist and landed on the White Walker. After the guy was knocked down to the ground, he gradually turned into a mass of ashes and dissipated in the wind. But things didn't end there. When Stark made his move, it was obvious that the White Walker suddenly picked up speed. People in the Marvel world are also pressed tightly. We can't make too much noise now. If those guys from Soul Suppressing World find out, they will be attacked from front to back, and if we want to escape, it won't be that simple. But looking at these ghosts in front of them, if they are left alone, the threat they bring seems to be no different from those guys in the Soul Suppressing World. What the hell is this? There are too many. In the end, there was no way. After all, the enemies had already poured in front of him, so it would be unreasonable not to do anything. But there are too many of those ghosts, no matter how they resist, that thing just keeps approaching them from various places. Seeing that he was about to be pushed to a desperate situation, at this moment, Saul couldn't hold back anymore, and directly hammered hard. 2.8 A bright and dazzling electric shock fell instantly in midair, and hit the ground to form a strong gravitational force. Those ghosts also felt the danger, and they stopped immediately when they saw that the ghosts in front were all sucked in and crushed. Saul, are you crazy? After Stark heard the sound coming from ahead, and the lightning strike in midair, he became tense instantly. Advertisement. Chapter 356 Deadline. Advertisement. But Saul didn't seem to be listening. Then tell me, is there any other way we can do it? If they don't do this, their death will be shortened infinitely. After hearing Thor's words, Stark was also speechless. It seems that they really have no other way now. Let's hurry up and get ready, those guys may not be here anytime soon. After Stark saw that there was no way, I can only continue talking. For them now, there is not much time. And Saul couldn't listen to anything at this time, facing those strange ghosts, his eyes were already red-eyed. But the sky has already dimmed, if they continue to entangle, for them, there will be danger everywhere. After loading in, they haven't eaten anything, not to mention chasing soldiers, even if they are hungry, they are a threatening enemy to them. When they thought of this, they also fell into panic again. Indeed, according to their current state, they can't hold on for too long. Advertisement. What's more, facing such an attack from front to back. But just as they were about to slowly hold back the retreat, the strange ghosts behind them suddenly stopped as if they had been summoned. This is naturally a good thing for the people in the Marvel world. After seeing them stop, they went straight through the jungle. Everything went so smoothly. If there is no problem in the future, these ghosts may still be able to become their natural barrier, blocking the pursuers from the soul-suppressing world. But they have lost their direction now, and they don't know where they are now. Such a situation is also dangerous for them. If they don't find the final place mentioned by the gold list as soon as possible, their world's resources will no longer be able to withstand another test. When thinking of this, Stark's face is also full of joy. I really can't think of any other way. Compared with other worlds, they now have no advantage at all. Saul, let's find something first, it's better for others not to act privately. Stark left this sentence because he was actually worried about the current disunity among them. It can be seen that the previous events have not erased the brand in their hearts. Advertisement. At this time, maybe a word, maybe an action, might arouse the anger in their hearts. This ghost place, I don't know where I can find food. After leaving the camp with Stark, Thor immediately began to complain. But just after he finished those words, Stark suddenly stopped in his tracks. After seeing his actions, Saul thought at first that he had discovered something. 123,099,403,201 Philu 0030903070. Who knows the next second, before Saul asked, Stark looked directly at him and said. It doesn't matter what you eat at this time of day. The voice of speaking also gradually became smaller. When hearing this, Saul's expression also became cautious. What's the meaning? It looked like he still didn't get what Stark was thinking. Didn't you notice something was wrong? Stark continued. Now our hearts are unstable. If this continues, our so-called Marvel world will start to disintegrate from within, let alone any challenges. Advertisement. Chapter 357 Pessimistic. Advertisement. Although what Stark said was somewhat pessimistic. But it's not unreasonable. Their current situation is completely difficult, and the random entry of the soul-suppressing world has directly increased the degree of their confusion. Under such circumstances, they don't know what else they can do to prevent everything that follows. Then what's going on now? When hearing this, Saul also looked helpless. Even if they know the root cause of the matter, since the old man was defeated, they have been in this state now, and no one can suppress Thanos and them, so there is no need to mention disputes with other worlds. Not sure who to point the finger at. So, now we have to think of a way. Stark said with a wry smile. That's why he asked Saul to come out alone. As for how to do it, he is rich and has no clue now. But the most important thing is to brainstorm. Just as the two of them were discussing here, they suddenly heard footsteps coming from behind them. After Stark heard it, he thought it was someone from the camp, so he stopped the discussion immediately. Advertisement. But there is no defense. However, in the next second, Xing and the others appeared in front of them. After Stark saw the figures in front of him, the expression on his face instantly became tense. Didn't know what to say at all. After that, Xia Xing spoke first. Sorry, did I bother you? When hearing this sentence, Stark was already confused about the situation. It was only at this time that I realized that what I said before was all nonsense. Just the appearance of one or two people can disrupt all their ideas. Red hair, what's the matter with this spirit beast? And Xia Xing didn't seem to take them seriously at all. When he looked at the surrounding environment, something seemed wrong, so he turned around and said to the red hair. Hearing this, the red-haired man was also at a loss. Why do you ask me this kind of thing? How would I know? Originally, Xia Xing thought that their goal was to use spirit beasts to find the final place. Advertisement. But I didn't expect to come here after walking. After looking at the expressions of Stark and the others, it seems that this is not the place they are looking for. What's the matter with you? When Xia Xing lowered his head, he realized that Stark and Soul's eyes had been fixed on him, and then asked. After being captured by Xia Xing's words, the two fell into a panic again. Didn't know what to say at all. Of these people in front of them, pick one at random, neither of them is an opponent. If it starts to fight, it is probably more deadly than the pursuit and killing of those guys in the soul-suppressing world. Do you know where this is? Seeing the two of them sticking there like wooden men, Xia Xing gradually became impatient. This time they gave an answer, and their heads began to shake like rattles. After seeing them like this, Xia Xing also looked helpless. I really don't know how they survived until now. Forget it, it's useless to ask you. Xing shook his head and said, and then he was about to turn around and leave directly. But Xia Xing's action surprised Stark and the others. Advertisement. Chapter 358 Principles. Advertisement. Could it be that Xia Xing still doesn't know the rules of this challenge? Stark can only understand it in this way now. Encountering enemies in this place and killing them directly will reduce the burden of the subsequent challenges. They will not be ignorant of this truth. But now, looking at Xia Xing and the others, it seemed that they didn't intend to get rid of them here at all. I don't know if it's because they haven't penetrated the rules, or because they simply don't bother to do so. And just now they seem to have heard some spirit beasts. Seeing that Xia Xing was about to leave, Stark also became more courageous. What are the spirit beasts you mentioned just now? After hearing Stark's voice 867, if he hadn't seen Xia Xing and the others turning around, Saul would have thought he had an auditory hallucination. Obviously everyone was leaving, but at this time Stark recruited them. This wave of operations seemed to be the same as when he erupted in front of the other ghosts before. Advertisement. After hearing this question, Xia Xing actually began to explain in detail. Whitebeard and the others didn't say anything, there was no way, Xia Xing's character was like this. After that, Stark also disclosed the situation of their camp to Xia Xing. When he heard this, Saul also immediately pulled Stark. If this continues, all of them will be sold by Stark. Naturally, this little move couldn't hide from Xia Xing's eyes. When he saw this, he also sneered. Don't worry, if I want to get rid of you, I don't have to do it myself. Xia Xing said this to let them know that the reason why he was still alive and speaking in front of Xia Xing was because he didn't want to make a big fuss. When he heard this, Soul's movements also stopped at that moment, but that's the truth. Their lives are now completely in the hands of Xia Xing and the others. And the reason why Stark told Xia Xing about their camp was also because of the existence of those ghosts. From Xia Xing's introduction just now ABFE, he faintly noticed that this spirit beast seemed to have an extraordinary relationship with the strange ghost. Advertisement. It would be better to borrow Xia Xing's hand this time to deal with those strange ghosts, so as to make their escape route wider. At least you don't have to live the life of being afraid of wolves and tigers. White ghosts. When Xia Xing heard this, he also felt a burst of surprise. Although they also saw strange ghosts on the way here, they all acted alone, at most 3 or 5. So much so that they thought that the setting of the White Walkers here was like this. After hearing what Stark said about the White Walkers, Xia Xing also instantly became interested. And this seems to explain why the spirit beast led them to this place. Although they don't have any clues about the final path now, everything that exists here must be reasonable. Afterwards, under the leadership of Stark and the others, Xia Xing and his party came to the camp in the Marvel world. At first, when they saw Stark's figure, they thought they had found something, but when they were about to surround him, they found Xia Xing's and the others' faces. The whole scene suddenly became tense. Everyone looked at Xia Xing and the others with alert faces. And Thanos didn't know what happened. Advertisement. Chapter 359 Explanation. Advertisement. Stark, what are you doing here? After that, Thanos could only focus on Stark and ask. Obviously, that's what Stark and Thor brought in. Don't be so nervous, just relax, relax. After seeing them like this, Xia Xing also said with a smile. But his words were like hitting the sea with a fist, it didn't have any effect at all. Seeing that they still had the same expressions just now, Xia Xing also looked helpless, and didn't want to continue explaining, so he turned his attention to Stark. Is it right here? After hearing Xia Xing's question, Stark shook his head. Still ahead. After saying this, just as Stark was about to take Xia Xing and the others to move on, Thanos suddenly stopped in front of him. Aren't you going to give us an explanation? Upon hearing this, Stark also looked forward with a blank expression. It seems that Thanos is not going to let them go so easily. Advertisement. But his behavior is completely looking for something. After Xia Xing saw Thanos blocking their way, he slowly walked forward. What explanation do you want? With Xia Xing's simple sentence, murderous aura emerged immediately. Thanos was just about to refute something, but the moment his gaze fell on Xia Xing's, he instantly felt a little speechless. The murderous aura emanating from Xia Xing's body tightly surrounded him. Intuition told him that if he wanted to survive, he should quickly get out of the way. After that, Thanos didn't say a word, and just stood aside. After Stark saw it, he directly took Xia Xing and the others around. After walking not far, Xia Xing found that the spirit beasts began to become agitated. Red hair, take care of this little thing, don't wait and rush over. Xia Xing said helplessly. You can already feel the dangerous aura emanating from the jungle ahead. It seemed that Stark didn't lie to them, and there seemed to be some abnormalities in the jungle ahead. And then, before they got close, Xia Xing heard a muffled roar coming from the front. Advertisement. When they heard this, the group of them didn't react much, and the spirit beast was already a little restless. Zero seeking flowers 0. It seems right. You guys wait here, I'll go and have a look. Afterwards, Xia Xing also said directly to them, and walked forward after leaving this sentence. It seemed that he planned to go in alone. When Xia Xing's back appeared in Stark's sight, he was going to remind him at first. After all, the situation inside is too dangerous. But when he was about to speak, he realized a problem. The one in front of him is a real star, no matter what, it seems that it is not his turn to remind him. And just when he was struggling, Xia Xing had already walked into the Minister of the Jungle. Now this place is filled with fog, if you don't concentrate, you can't see the road ahead at all. But it doesn't make any difference to Xia Xing if he can see clearly but not clearly. He just wants to figure out what this place is now. If all the ghosts spread out from this place, there must be something special here. When thinking of this, Xia Xing was also anxious to figure out the second. Advertisement. Chapter 360. The end. Advertisement. But when he was thinking about these things, he ignored the situation behind him. If he didn't hear the footsteps behind him in time, it is estimated that the strange ghost behind him will succeed. Turning around and looking, groups of strange ghosts gradually appeared in Xia Xing's sight. Stark was right, the lethality of these things was much more terrifying than what they had encountered before. But it was because of this that Xia Xing had to come in alone with 693. This kind of experience was really enjoyable for him. After Xia Xing made his way inside, he searched for a week, but still didn't find anything special. Just when he was about to go out first, he suddenly felt a special attraction, and the fog inside was getting thicker and thicker. Xia Xing's sight was completely covered, and then he slowly groped forward by feeling. At least there is no danger. And at this moment, the originally dark road suddenly became brighter under a burst of attraction. Xia Xing also opened his eyes wide when he saw this, but it was still a little blurry. There was no other way, Xia Xing had no choice but to continue to move closer to the past. Advertisement. Although he didn't know what it was, he had a feeling that the answer he wanted to know was not far away. But this time, just as he was about to walk to the end, he suddenly heard a tremor in his ear. There was a rustling sound in the nearby jungle, as if something was about to come out. Seeing this scene, Xia Xing also stopped immediately. When his eyes slowly focused, one after another of the strange ghosts appeared in front of him. But this time, it felt different to him. The hands of those guys are still holding the mist. A special deterrent is formed in the smog. I advise you not to meddle in your own business. After seeing those figures gradually approaching, Xia Xing said calmly. Regardless of whether they understand it or not, at least Xia Xing has said this reminder. As for what kind of consequences will be formed in the future, that is their own business. Hearing the footsteps approaching, Zhen Xing also clenched his fists tightly. Advertisement. This time, even Whitebeard and the others outside have felt Xia Xing's hockey time emanating from zero. This guy wouldn't be trying to destroy this place. Whitebeard fixed his eyes on the sky above the jungle, and said with a worried face. If this momentum continues, the result seems to be only this one. But in the end, fortunately, Chongqing is not as reckless as they imagined. After punching through the chest of one of the aliens, Xia Xing seemed to have discovered the weakness of these things. When they appeared, their bodies were in a very cold state, a bone-piercing feeling. And as long as it comes into contact with the flame, the strange ghost will be instantly reduced to ashes. But this place is still useful now, so it won't be ruined. Xia Xing defeated them one by one like this. Those 1.0 ghosts are not like Jinbang said, at least at this time, they will change with their strength. In other words, such constraints have no way to affect Xia Xing's strength now. After eliminating the strange ghosts that appeared, Xia Xing walked forward again. A hut unexpectedly appeared in the smoky jungle. Advertisement.